up? This is DK and Shay from TacoYaki Anime.
Yo,
And we are back. It's been a while.
it has. It has definitely been a while.
Yeah. So, we are here for our initial thoughts on the winter anime of 2025.
And we got some bangers.
Yes. So today we have 9 shows we're going to be talking about. And, yeah, let's get this party started. So, I I need to pull up the list because that's the last thing I forgot to do. Um, and while I'm doing that, let's go ahead and get the first show, which is one of yours, and that is a show with a long name. um,
I think they all have long answers.
yeah.
Most of these seasons. Well, most of them at least.
So let me pull up.
So this one, Arafa Utoko no Isekai Tsuhan Sekatsu, I believe. Otherwise known as the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world. So I'd like to give this one its fair shakedown and credit, but I initially had my idea that this was another version of Campfire Cooking in Another World with
Mm-hmm.
my online skills kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of is, but it's not also. Um, in that one, in the Campfire Cooking in Another World, I mean, he made food for this wolf creature that followed him around, and they had adventures that way.
Yes.
This dude got transported to another world, has the ability to shop online, much like the other characters of that one, and have things delivered to him. Also has to deliver money and spend it in the same way. This dude, on the other hand, though, he does cook every now and then, but for the most part, he's kind of a merchant. He's
Okay.
kind of set himself up with being able to utilize his online shopping habits to essentially, he doesn't know what he's supposed to do in this world. He just knows he's here and he wants to try to live as easy a life as he possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So he found a town and basically set himself up as a merchant and is just trying to afford enough money so that way he can make himself a home and just live out his days peacefully. Of course, this is an anime, so of course that doesn't happen. Can't have that happen. It wouldn't make for a good story. So things happen around him. It's funny in some ways, because he's very not shy about what he does or what he pulls out or buys. Like at one point, he bought himself a backhoe just because he was trying to terraform the landscape around this forest where he was trying to make his build his home at.
Mm-hmm.
Big old piece of machinery, and it's just like, no, he's like, nope, this is what we're doing. I'm like, all right, cool. So anyone can wander in and just be like, what's that? Where'd you get that from? Um, he does kind of gloss over kind of a lot of the other things as far as like where the things that he gets. He's always surprised when he pulls out some small piece of like his biggest selling item right from the beginning was clothespins.
Okay.
He was very surprised about that, but it was some form of crafting and technology that the world he's in is not accustomed to. So of course they took an absolute loving to it because they're like, "Oh my god, this is so much better than what we use. If you have more, I'll buy them all." Um, so I mean, it's a fun story. It does have. I think the first episode. Well, was it the first episode or the second? One or the other. I think it was the first episode. Surprised me a little bit because so by the time he gets to town, his first town he visits, and he wants to set himself up to murder. He realizes he has to learn. He understands the language. He understands the language,
Mhm.
but he has to learn the writing and everything.
Okay.
So the very first inn he goes to, he decides he's going to ask the lady there who runs it if she could teach him how to read.
Okay.
And she agrees. Um, in order to bribe her to do this, he gives her candy and then ends up drawing her. I guess he has some good artistic skills because he ended up drawing like a portrait of her.
Hmm.
And then she decides that she's very grateful and she's been treated like royalty, so she's going to do him some additional service.
Okay.
And it kind of cuts away from that at that point. It's level
Oh.
to what happens. And that's happened a couple times. I enjoy the fact that they allude to that and it's not like a direct here it is kind of situation. We're
Hmm.
just like, so that happened. Um, but it was kind of caught me off guard because it was very much not a very. It didn't go in that direction at first, but it
Hmm.
headed that direction at least then, and it was just so sudden. It was like, oh, okay, we're doing okay, okay, cool, sure, sure,
So this is this kind of
awesome,
show.
awesome. So this is this kind of show. We didn't show anything, so I kind of like to prefer that better because it's alluding to it without showing you anything.
Okay.
Anyone smart enough can know, but at the same time, it's like, eh. So for the most part, this is kind of a very like I look forward to watching this one, but it's not like my most hype look forward to show of the season by far.
Okay. Um.
So
So I guess right now, what episode are you
it's
on?
definitely I'm current. I think I'm episode 4, I want to
Okay.
say.
Cool.
So
Cool.
I do intend on finishing it. I think it's lighthearted enough that it's enjoyable, something you can just sit down and watch without having to be overly invested in. It's just
Mhm.
kind of like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Funny, funny. Um, I would definitely rank it below Campfire Cooking in Another World because that just was, I believe, what they're trying to do, but done better in that regards.
Yes. Um. It does make sense. Like I also watched Campfire in Another World, and that show was fun because of like the characters and the interactions between them. Like the wolf was a joy to be around. Like
Oh,
you,
absolutely, 100%.
yeah, like you knew exactly why he was there and what he was gonna do next, and like he may trick you by like being sneaky, but once you're like, oh, this again,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, here we go again.
yep. And a lot of the other characters, like the way that they just interacted with the main character, you knew that they're gonna try to come up with some scheme or something, like ask for something, and he's going to try to be, I don't know, like for the because there was a younger character in there, right? Like a little, I want to say Little Rabbit, but that's
They
a
had
different
a
shot. Yeah.
they had a slime.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, the slime, and like it's just the most adorable thing, and like
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, so for that show, I could see why it would appeal. Like the other one would appeal more than this one because of the dynamic characters that it had in it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, um,
Like I
I
said, it's
may.
not bad. It's just not amazing, and it definitely ranks below Campfire Cooking in Another World.
Okay,
If I were to put Campfire Cooking at like an 8, I would say this would probably be like a 6.
okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, do you have a favorite character so far?
Um, I would say the main character, interesting. Like
Okay.
probably the same way I would handle them,
Hmm.
where he's like he kind of freaks out at certain moments and just goes panic mode where he's like, oh my god, like he was in the forest where he got originally teleported to when he first got to this world,
Hmm.
and he was riding around. He bought himself a bike at first to be able to travel on, and then and when one of his stops, he ended up running across some wolves, and kind of freaked out. And at first, like he got himself some firecrackers to throw at him to see if he could scare him off. And then when that didn't work, he ended up getting a slingshot and some heavy BBs to be able to peg him and try to get him to run away. And I was like, I mean, if you don't have, because he's already said he doesn't have access to firearms and stuff
Hmm.
because the website that he uses is essentially a website that, according to him, you find on in Japan. So they have their own limitations where it's like you can't purchase firearms or you can't purchase like swords and stuff like that. So like weaponry is kind of out of the realm, but like something like a slingshot is still acceptable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I
Like,
like the dynamics in that regards. But his reactions to that, I think, were kind of it seemed more the way I would think a real person would look at it and interact with it. So I appreciate the realism that gets put into that.
okay.
You
Um,
know, it's not like he's a hero who just all of a sudden comes in this world and is like, ha, I'll take on anything and everyone. He's like, I'm a dude. This is weird, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do to not die, basically.
okay. Yeah, it is interesting to the way that they use the website. Like the website that they
Mhm.
choose to have the main character go from, because it's like it's not like a black market website where they can order anything that they want. They're like, no, it's
Mhm.
more akin to like Amazon or something where you're like, you
Yeah,
can't buy crazy stuff on this website.
but for some reason he can buy it back.
um, so yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm still in the same moment where I'm like, it sounds interesting, but there's nothing really like
Mhm.
really pulling me in. Like I think
No.
with the other one, you mentioned like the wolf and something like that, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta check this out.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Have you not seen Campfire Cooking yet?
I saw the first, yeah, the one with Faf. Is it Fafnir? No, or is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I did see that in a little adorable slime. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's amazing. I think that one by far it exceeds that for me when it comes to non like heavy action isekais when it's just like you know kind of a slice of life almost
mhm.
situation is top tier.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, yeah. So, that is online shopping. The next show we're going to be talking about is uh, even longer name, but I have this one pulled.
Told you.
Yeah, I have this one pulled up. It is. I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try mastering magic.
Still same. It's on. Okay, it's on episode 5 at this point.
Okay, 5 episodes in.
Um, yeah, it's not great. It is. It is. It's not. It's not great. Okay, so like the first. Honestly, this is probably one of those shows I'm dropping. I'm gonna be honest with you on that. And you know, I rarely do that. I rarely do that. So my biggest gripe with this show is the pacing. The pacing of this show is horrible.
Okay.
So first episode, we get everything that the title suggests.
Hmm.
He is reborn in another world as this third or fourth son of a noble who is on the brink of losing his nobility because he hasn't done what nobles are supposed to do or hasn't exceeded on something that he was supposed to do, yada, yada, yada. So the kid's like, well, cool. I'm in another world. Is magic a thing? I've always loved seeing that and thinking about magic. Can I do that? And he finds he has an aptitude for it. He's actually pretty good at it. So he studies, he trains. He's like, well, if I'm not going to be able to be a noble and live the high life, I might as well utilize what I have now in order to learn all I can about magic and do great things with that. Cool, great. To me, I thought that was the first episode. I'm like, cool. I think let's go on this. Let's see what happens. He's gonna become some great wizard, magician, whatever. Maybe he's going to become an adventurer, become the best one there is, doing all these crazy spells. In my mind, I guess I'm more thinking of like shoot the isekai with the one that's the grandfather of all isekais that we watched before with the kid who was that guy who got sent back
No.
as a baby and
Jobless
grew up.
reincarnation.
Yes, 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 yes. To me,
Machoka
I thought, okay,
Tensei.
this is kind of the route we're going here. I'm all for it. Let's see what this does, because I mean that's kind of what they do there. Yeah, no, no, that's not what we did. Like after the first episode, by episode two, he had performed this great feat and become like gotten noticed by the king and queen kind of situation. By episode 3, he finished he finished a quest that his family was supposed to do that his brother got jealous because the queen and king on the second by the second episode had already given him his own baronship separately because of what he had done in episode 2. And then he tried to complete a task that his family had been unable to complete in episode 3. So the main character, the kid, does it and completes it. And then by episode 4, in episode 3, what they had to do was defeat this dragon, which was also very much like the whole battle literally lasted 3-4 minutes maybe.
Mm.
And then instead of defeating the dragon, he ends up absorbing the dragon. Like the dragon in his death decides that he thinks that the main character Liam is interesting because he recognizes that he's from another world, so he wants to bind himself to him. So all of a sudden Liam gets this huge power boost now that he has this dragon soul inside of him,
So now he's not himself.
and kind of. And then by episode 4, he's the dragon tells him about these pixies that he had set up and helped, like, kind of the whole. See, we're getting a whole bunch of like we've got Naruto there. Now we get a slime situation because in slime, Vildora
Yes.
was like his presence was keeping order in the forest. Well, apparently this dragon's presence was keeping order and keeping these pixies safe. So he tells Liam he wants him to go and take care of this for him. And so he finds them a sanctity that the dragon had put aside, and leads the pixies there, who then he names and ends up turning them into elves. So very much a reincarnated as a slime situation because he names them
Oh
and then they
yeah.
upgrade into from pixies into elves.
It.
And then by the end of episode 4, he's trying to build homes for these elves, a la reincarnated as a slime, and he asks the princess who had come to meet with him on episode 3 because of his great deeds that he had already accomplished, who happened to have her engineer, the royal engineer, with her. He makes a clone of the royal engineer, brings it back with him, also brings the princess because she was curious what he was doing. She finds out he's in the lost land that no one knew about because the dragon had sealed it away for a long ass time, and then realizes that he's supposed to make his own kingdom here because apparently the rest of the world is going to go to shit, and he needs to create a utopia for the survivors to go to. In 4 episodes.
Uh, um,
So we went from I'm about to be not be a noble, so let me learn how to utilize magic really well, to I am a noble, to I've completed the task that my family could never accomplish, to now I'm going to create my own kingdom. And the princess of the kingdom I'm currently in is bowing down to me like I'm some sort of god. You see why I'm like, this pacing sucks. This pacing is horrible. I mean, if this is the direction we are going in, that's fine. But I would like to see the progression of us getting there.
this
Not being like, we gotta go, 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 go.
this is the pace of a remake. Where they're like, oh, yeah, you saw the 52 episodes of us developing this story originally when the manga wasn't finished. Well, now the manga's finished, so let's redo some of the stuff that y'all already know because y'all watched the original make of this in 4 episodes, so we can get to the new cool stuff that follows the manga. That's basically the pace that it's going at.
I mean, yes, there is. Well, see, no, there's a manga out for this, but it's not even done. It's releasing.
Yes, but it's like
And
that's
there's a light novel.
the only way I
Yeah,
would
this was
accept.
all done back in. This was all back. The release date for both of these things was back in 2020.
Yes. So what I'm saying is like the only way I would accept that the pace of that speed is if
Mm-hmm.
that case was true, where it's like, oh, I already know the story. You don't have to tell me the whole story again. I already saw the last 52 episodes. Now that there's a remake, let's go ahead and speed this up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Any case other than that, I can't understand why it's so fast.
No, I. There was nothing that I could figure out as to the reason why it was that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yeah. um,
So after like I gave it one more episodes after that, and it's still doing crazy things, and it's still just I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's no, let's. It's just it's so. I mean, like, all right, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, there are so many other animes that are way better than this.
Everybody slow down. Stop. You stop.
Yeah.
You stop.
And next thing you know, he's gonna be like Rimuru and become like the next Messiah or something like that. And I'm just
Oh my
like, when
God.
when did this happen? You did not earn that title at all. Thank you very much. We saw the reason why Rimuru became what he did. You
Yes, it
are
took
becoming
him
that with just in 5 episodes when he took what
3
30,
seasons.
40 episodes to do it in.
Yes. Exactly. Let's
And it's like
see.
you're wanting to be Naruto, you're wanting to be Rimuru, you're wanting to be like what? No, just pick a style and stick with it, man.
Um, do you like any of the characters?
No, just no.
Which one do you dislike the least?
I don't know, man. I don't
The
know.
dragon's not even cool.
No, because you only saw him for like what 5 minutes in the second episode, and now all he is a voice. That's all he is.
Well, and like Veldora was cool, even though he wasn't
So
there most of the time. Same thing about
And
the nine
I
tails.
like dragons.
Yeah, that's what
You know
I
I like
brought it up.
dragons, but I don't like him because he just stood. Okay, here's the battlement, right? Rawr, rawr, big scary, rawr. Kill him. Done. That's what it did. He had no cool moves. He had no cool abilities. He had he's just like I am a damaged sponge ready to take all of your swords and blades. But for some reason, everybody fears me.
Does he even look cool?
Kind of. I mean, not really, but kind of.
Okay.
It
That's
was. I mean, okay, if you. Oh, you don't even see him in the one you have. I was about to say the one that any chart has on right or any list. The one that's on any list right now.
okay.
This has a picture of him in the back left corner. He's big and yellow. He
Oh,
might
okay, I
be
was like the
gold.
golden dragon.
I'm guessing he's supposed to be gold.
Okay.
That's yellow. That's not even gold. That's
That's
just
like
yellow.
tan.
Almost. I mean, yeah. And then he the main character. So he names the pixies, turns them into elves. Apparently he names people, and then all of a sudden they become more powerful and have upgrades. One of which is the girl on the left, the brown haired girl or whatever. She basically gets the ability. Her name Jody or whatever. Jody, yeah, of all things, really, Jody. Anyways, she gets the ability that anything. Get this. Here again, slime all over again, but they try to be different. Anything she cooks can heal,
Okay.
but she has to cook it. So it's like Shion, except Shion had bad cooking. That eventually she gets the ability to cook, and everything tastes it tastes good, even though it looks horrible. Hers is I can cook things and heal you with my cooking.
Okay.
So her example of this was giving someone a sandwich. She made a guy a sandwich. How? Why? Are we going into that dull trope? Girl, get in the kitchen, make me a sandwich.
Oh my
I have
god.
a broken arm. I need healing. How bad and cliche can you get? Oh god, it's horrible. It's just horrible. So yeah, no. This is I'm like I can't do it anymore. I'm like there's no way. I just can't.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's your superpower? Making sandwiches.
Put you on PB and J tuna, bologna. Oh
It's
man.
so bad.
Wow.
It is so bad.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Pacing's horrible. Characters are cliche. They trying too much on other. They're trying to pull in other things. I'm just like, this is horrible.
I don't even want to. I don't. You know what? Never mind.
So yes, this is one of the few. I'm just like, I'm dropping. I'm done.
Okay. Cool. All right. The next show we're gonna be talking about is even longer name.
Oh yeah, this one.
Uh, this is Botaraku, right? No.
This is even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest.
Okay. Yes.
So, okay, this one I think is suffering from the same thing. The biggest gripe I have with this one is it's suffering from the same thing the other one was. Is
Okay.
pacing.
Okay.
The pacing on this one could be so much better. It Here's the thing. I don't know if I'm more annoyed with this one because of the pacing or more annoyed with the previous one. Because the pacing on the previous one was just boom, 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 so quick.
Mm-hmm.
This one, there's so much. I feel like there's potential there. Like they have the potential in the storyline for great things, but they instead of giving us those great things, they're just like, no, we need to just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, I want. So, in the beginning, this guy, his skill is appraiser,
Mm-hmm.
and his ability is only consists of him being able to see the quality of basically dead monsters or items, stuff like that, which there's actually magical devices that would allow you to do this anyways. So he's seen as being worthless trash, that he has no real value or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the party that he is with basically gets into trouble and they use him as bait. They actually paralyze him and leave him for the monsters so that they can escape. That's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's horrible. And he ends up barely managing to escape, bloodied and bruised, and in his I've just had enough of my life situation, he jumps off into this chasm that is bottomless pit that he finds where it's like he had either he was going to jump into this pit or he was going to be dog food essentially. So he was just like, I'm just going to jump. What ends up meeting him at the bottom of this pit is there's actually water, and it was a I guess this world is populated, or in the beginning of this world there was this tree that sustained and brought magic, a world tree that brought to magic to everywhere.
Okay.
During some sort of conflict, the tree broke and it kind of scattered. So the tree still exists, but now it's like multiple different trees and multiple different underground dungeons essentially.
Okay.
And he actually stumbles upon one of them. Well, the tree has its own personality. It actually is a living embodiment, and it creates a essentially a body that goes up to him when he's lying next to it, still bloodied and unconscious, basically, and heals him.
Okay.
He wakes up, sees that he's fine, and is like, "Well, I got to get out of here. I got to see if I can get out of here." Well, he leaves, and he's still weak, and now he's even in a deeper part of this dungeon, and the monsters are insanely powerful. So, unbeknownst to him, this tree has a guardian. Well, the tree convinced the guardian to go out and rescue him because he was on the brink of death once again,
Uh-huh.
even after again gets saved by the guardian, gets healed, and then the guardian guardian's like, well, you can't stay here. You need to go. He's like, well, I can't go because if I leave here, I'm gonna die. I can't get past these enemies. And they agreed to basically help train him, and they give him some additional powers where he actually can use his appraisal skill more effectively and actually learns actual other skills by using the appraisal skills on monsters and such.
Okay.
So he becomes pretty powerful, and I'm like everywhere. Like at this point, I think we're on episode 2 at this point. I'm still good. Everything's still fine. I'm like, this is interesting. I'm cool with this. Let's see where this goes. By the end of episode 2, he makes it up out of the dungeon, followed by the guardian, and now the spirit of the world tree is in his eye. It's basically kind of a part of him, and she can manifest whenever. And I know, crazy. Anyways, he He ends up finding his old party, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna start some shit here. No, we just gloss over that whole fact. Like, he was downtrodden, beaten. His old party member was in a tavern singing his praises, saying that he sacrificed himself for their greater good. He walks in, goes, "Who sacrificed themselves?" while he's in the midst of his speech. And basically, the whole crowd that's in the tavern then turns against him.
Uh-huh.
See, I think his name is. They immediately believe the main character, and then he just walks away. Nothing else happens. And I'm like, I expect when the main character comes back and kind of quote unquote gets his revenge, that something more comes of it. Not
Yeah.
just like in a matter of maybe 5 minutes, we're just like, hey, we're good. I appreciate you. And I'm like, why? Why would. I mean, I get it. You're more powerful now and you're stronger now than you were before. But come on, nothing? We're not doing nothing? We're taking the Jesus high road in this, being like, I forgive you. And I'm like, really? You were going to kill yourself because you were so downtrodden about how you were treated, and now you're just all like, I'm good. And now his quest is that he's going to go to the other dungeons to find other world trees, so that way the world tree that's inside of him can reunite with the other world trees. And already within the first episode after that, we've already found one, gone through the dungeon, and met up with the next world tree, who has now said that she wants to join up with him to also go meet with the other world trees. And I'm just like, are we wrapping this whole thing up in like this 12 episodes literally? Is that what we're shooting for? We're not gonna have like a journey, an adventure going through. We're just like next dungeon, next dungeon, next dungeon, next dungeon, next dungeon, and I'm like, you're not solving his problem. You're not. What's going on?
It's like there's no conflict, there's no struggle, there's no
No,
regrouping.
nope. So far, I mean, so far, I'm like, I see there is so much potential. They have a world that they have created in this that is teeming with lore and stuff like that. But we're not doing any of that. We're just like, all right, we have a mission. Let's go find the world trees, and it's like we're not even like worried about the land above, like in our way going there. What do we have to do to get there? We're just like every episode. Are we just like, all right, we're in the next dungeon. We already found the world tree. Oh, or next dungeon, find next world tree. Okay, in next dungeon, find next. I'm like, holy crap!
Hmm.
I'm hoping there's going to be like some consequences to this at some point. Like, is because he's joining the world trees, is like some other power going to like manifest itself, or is another power looking for the world tree? Like, we don't even. We already found two, and we haven't even heard about anything like that.
Yeah, so you said that he kept one of the trees in his eye? Is the other tree in his other eye?
No, she basically merged with the eye that had the other world tree, and it leveled up his appraisal skill when he did.
Okay.
So I guess the more he goes through and the more he joins with them, they're all going to go into the one eye that he
Yeah.
has. And they're all going to keep leveling up his appraisal skill till he's going to have some god appraisal skill, whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
I like there's potential. I think that's what
Yes.
frustrates me the most is that there is such potential for a good story with good characters, but we're just kind of glossing over it.
Yeah. Compared to the last one, this one seems interesting. it
Mm-hmm.
it does seem like you gotta hold on to the reins, or else the story is gonna leave you behind.
Yeah.
Um, but it it's like it's like a pie with no crust.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they gave you all the sugar and all the fillings, and you're like, it can be too much. You're like,
I Yeah. You're just like, I need something to break it up. I need something to
yeah,
give me more, texture, more flavor, more something.
yeah. So, it's interesting. I'm not sure if I've come across a story where it's really fast paced, but like nothing detrimental is in
Mm-hmm.
there. Like it's like you said, it has potential. Like aspects of the story are interesting. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm like,
So like, can we get more details on him? Can we elongate a little bit on it? I mean,
yeah.
something.
Like I feel like this is a show that'll be immediately
Mm-hmm. 100%.
because it's like,
Because it has no impact.
yeah, it's like we did this, we did this, we did that, and the story's over. And you're like, okay.
Nice seeing you. Goodbye.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. So as far as characters, who do you like so far?
Um, I guess. I mean, I would say the main character, but he's kind of a. I don't know. If he had more of an arc where he actually like made himself did more to be more of a, he kind of is a pushover. And even when he gained more power, he's still a pushover.
Hmm.
Like the tree, the original tree he came across, Yuri, and the guardian Ursula that he came across. Ursula more so bullies the crap out of him. Yuri just, I don't know. I like Yuri. She's the tree, the spirit of the tree, the first tree he came across.
Hmm.
I think she's interesting. But like she doesn't have a lot of, she didn't have a lot of roles. Like her only thing that she's done so far is heal Aang with her, the sap from her tree. That's it.
Hmm.
And that's all she does. And it's like I'd want her to have more of an arc. And same with Aang. So like I can't, to me it's like I don't know of any of them that I would say was better or worse than the other just because I want them all to have more of an arc to them. None of them are standout, none of them feel fleshed out enough for me to say like the previous anime I just hated all the characters. This one I feel like, just like we were saying with the story, there's so much potential there. I just feel like I want them to flesh them out more.
Hmm.
And I just don't feel like that's going to happen.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, are you continuing this one or?
Yeah, I will. I will continue this one.
Cool, cool, cool. Um, let's see. So as as an aside, I found one more show.
Okay.
I had three, so we'll be doing that one in a couple more. So yeah, so that is for
Okay.
that one. The next show we're gonna be talking about is uh another long name one.
Is
um,
it is it the Guild Girl one?
yes, and it is called "I May Be a Guild Receptionist, but I'll solo
Ah,
any
okay.
boss to
Yep.
clock out on time."
So this so far has been probably my first real enjoyable one.
Hmm.
Um, and I almost feel like it should be. I don't know. It looks like what are their tags they have on this? I see action adventure, which it is, but I also feel like it's a comedy,
Okay.
and it really doesn't say that. That's kind of interesting. It's a comedy though.
Okay.
So I watched it because I thought the premise was ridiculous, and it is ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah, from the title, I was like, this
It's
this
a
seems interesting.
this is a receptionist. Yeah. So this is a receptionist of a guild who one night she so this is an interesting aspect. We've never really thought about this before. Whenever guilds give quests, if the quests aren't fulfilled, if something happen kind of situation, and that is the receptionist's job. That is what she is trying to do. But when so many people are going out to so many different dungeons and bosses and stuff like that, that paperwork piles up. And if no one's defeating said bosses, there's a lot of paperwork to do. And that's where she comes in.
Mm-hmm.
One night when she was leaving after staying overtime, which she absolutely hates, um, she missed a festival that was going on in the town that she's in.
Okay.
So she, in her anger and frustration, she basically beseeches the gods of being like, please give me something that will allow me to be able to clock out on time every time. And so they did. They gave her the most powerful skill they could. And basically, she wields this giant freaking hammer that breaks through just about anything.
Okay.
But here's the problem: she doesn't want to be an adventurer. She wants the stability and the job satisfaction and order of the receptionist
Safety
without
too.
going on adventures. Safety, exactly. Without going on adventures. Well, her biggest thing is always like, I want to clock out on time. So as an adventurer, your hours are not set. Your hours go all over the place. So for her, she's like, no, I want my hours here. This is all I want to work, and I want to go home, and I want to enjoy my day off, and I want to just enjoy it. So because of these other adventurers not completing dungeons, whenever someone like something like that comes up, she goes out. Sometimes, and what happens with the first one we see is an adventurer was struggling in such a dungeon, and she just one shot it, and then tried to walk away. But the problem is that the leader of the party that she saved actually ended up kind of seeing her and figured out who she was.
Uh,
So then a whole thing starts with that, where he actually kind of falls in love with her, and then he's trying to convince her to come join their party, and she is adamantly refusing. So
ah,
no, I refuse to be an adventurer. I want to clock out on time and go home. So it's funny. I enjoy it. I think this is one of those where like I sit down and I'm just like, it's gonna be enjoyable. It's gonna be some antics. It's gonna be, I there's no there's there is some stakes, but the only stakes are when she's not there, because she's not always there. She doesn't want to be there. She'd rather not be there.
hmm.
But if it ever comes to down to the fact of a dungeon's not being defeated because a boss is wiping a party, or they're having to run away from it, she's like, well, I'm gonna step in and take care of business.
Hmm.
So
I actually really like this premise. Um,
mm-hmm.
it reminds me of a few different characters that we see in these fantasy shows, where it's like the person that's behind the desk, the person that's posting all the missions and stuff like that. It's like, what are they doing when everybody else is on an adventure? Like,
Yeah.
are they just sitting there at the desk? So, yeah, I'm actually curious about this one. I may pick this one up. How many
It's good.
episodes?
I enjoy it.
Okay.
I think it's either on 4 or 5. I think.
Okay. Um, characters.
The main character, Alina, the girl, she's just she has such a you know what? I feel like I can relate to her in that regards in a lot of ways. Just being like, no, I'm leaving. Go away. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I put in my time. I shouldn't have to stay here and deal with this anymore.
I was scheduled
Um,
till 5. It is 6 o'clock.
I need to go home. Screw this. Yeah, no, she she resonates with me. I think it's funny and charming in a way, and you know, she puts up a front as a lot of times, but I feel like the main character of the party that keeps trying to recruit her, Jade, I think he's kind of getting to her, and she's kind of starting to get feelings for him. So
Mhm.
you can kind of see glimpses of it here and there, where you can tell she cares, even though she tries to play it
Mhm.
off and acts like she doesn't.
Mhm.
So I like it. I think it's fun.
Cool, cool, cool. So it sounds like you are continuing this one.
Oh, 100%.
Cool, cool, cool. I might join in as well. Alright. The next show we're going to be talking about is. Uh, ooh, let's see. Uh,
It's the skill one, I
yes.
think.
Yes. Bogus Skill Fruit Master.
Yeah.
About the time I'm able to eat an unlimited number of skill fruits that kill you.
I'm on the fence on this one. I
Okay.
truly am.
Okay.
I'm in between like wanting to drop it and wanting to continue it.
Okay.
So in this world, people gain skills by eating these fruits.
Hmm.
What you gain, you don't know. You're gonna gain a skill by eating said fruit,
Okay.
and you could gain something useful, or you could gain something completely inane that will never be useful.
Is there a negative
Light,
aspect?
our main. There's no real negative aspect. It's just how useful that skill may be.
Okay.
Light, our protagonist, our main guy, he he wants to be an adventurer. He wants to be the best adventurer there ever was. So he's hoping for a combat skill. He wants something that he can use to fight and be an adventurer like he wants to be. What he ends up getting is Fruit Master. And in the beginning, he only thinks that this is an ability to do him with him as a farmer. He doesn't know the extent of what he can do. He doesn't understand until the girl that he ends up living with, basically, he's cooking and or no, she's cooking and she ends up using. He was growing some of those skill fruits,
Hmm.
and she ends up using it in her cooking.
Okay.
So he takes a bite of the food, and the thing is once you eat one of these things, you can't eat another one because it will kill you. You cannot eat another one or you will die, basically.
Oh, so you only get
So he
one
ends up
skill fruit.
inadvertently, yeah, you get one skill, one shot, that's it.
Oh, that sucks if
So
you
if you
get a
get
useless
something,
one.
yeah, if you get a useless one, you're done. That's it. You got nothing else to go for it. So he thought he got a useless one because he thought his only skill was used for farming, and that wasn't the case. So she cooks him this meal. He eats it and realizes there was a skill fruit in it, and he freaks out thinking he's about to die. But in the end, he ends up acquiring another skill, and it doesn't kill him. Now, see, me, he. So the girl he's with also ate the food, so she got a skill at a young age, younger than what you're supposed to. But she ended up getting a
Hmm.
skill. So the skill she got was a praiser who, when she appraised his skill, she learned what he had and learned what he could do. And so I'm like, okay, now you know you can eat these fruit and you're good. Why aren't you eating more of the fruit?
Wait,
Why aren't you beating like I'm gonna add Tom. I can eat so many of them. Now, granted, it kind of takes it out of him each time he does. But if that's the case, I'd be like every day I'd be eating one. It'd be like my vitamin for the day. I'd be like, all right, let's have another fruit. I mean, wouldn't you?
So, so I'm stuck on. This is her second fruit.
So, the girl he was with, the little girl who cooked the food, who used the skill fruit without realizing it, she used it because she didn't know what it was because she's too young and never had a skill. So she ate the food with him, so that was her first fruit.
Oh, okay. I thought
So
she
for
already
her,
had
it
one
gave
when
her
she
a
was
skill.
okay. Okay.
No.
Okay.
He is the only one in this world who's able to eat multiple fruits because of the fruit master skill he has.
Yes.
He is the master of the fruit, so he can
Yes.
eat as many as he wants without dying.
Yes. I was worried about her. I was like, did she cook with
No,
it, eat
no,
it, and then
she's
die?
fine.
I was like,
No,
that
she's
sucks.
fine.
Okay.
She gained the appraiser skill. Thing is she gained the skill way before she was supposed to because you're supposed to only do it at a certain age. She did it way before then. She's too young usually to have a skill.
Yes.
So people don't
That's
recognize the fact that she's actually skilled.
that makes sense why she didn't know not to cook with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting. Yes, I would eat one a day, or
I mean,
time it, or time it. Be like dead sleep, like be like, oh, time for another one. Oh, and go back to sleep.
why wouldn't you? There has only been one instance where he ate multiple fruits. And yeah, it put him out for a while after he did. But that's because he ate like four of them at once, or like one after the other kind of situation. Because he was in the middle of a battle trying to gain another skill that would be useful to him. And I'm like, why weren't you doing this before? You could have saved yourself so much trouble. Eat fruits. So, beyond that, there is some underground mysterious thing going on because the person who usually gives out these fruits to people, um, she's like a nun of this order. It's supposed to be some sort of holy religious thing to get these fruits, which is why you're supposed to wait till a certain age when you're quote unquote old enough to receive a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And like she is scheming behind the scenes for something. I'm not sure what at this point. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what I said. I'm a little frustrated with this particular one because I'm just like, I feel like they're missing some obvious things and they kind of gloss over some other things, and I'm just like, but it's not. It still has its charm. I still enjoy it, and I am interested to see what this like secret underground organization is kind of doing, and in certain aspects, I'm hoping that when they find out what's going on, that they at least punch the freaking nun character who seems to be the evil mastermind behind this because she's already been highly annoying to me at least. So I'm just like I'm kind of just waiting for that to
Okay.
happen. Um, but yeah,
So far, who's your favorite character?
um, I would say the little girl that he is with. I want to say what was her name? Alia.
Mm-hmm.
She's adorable. She found the wonders of pizza, and now that's like everything she thinks about and talks about every time chance and she gets. Because she grew up in the outskirts of town, way
Uh-huh.
out there in the outskirts of town,
Hmm.
poor. Like they lived on a farm. They
Hmm.
they only grew their food, cooked their food, and it wasn't until he became an adventurer once he gained his first or second skill after the fruit master, he gained the sword god skill.
Hmm.
Um, that he became an adventurer, and now they can actually afford to go eat places and stuff like that. And the
Okay.
first place she took him to go eat was at a place that served pizza,
Okay.
and she absolutely fell in love with pizza the entire time. So now it's like whenever they're going adventuring, whenever they're like, she's like, I'll pack the provisions. Oh, can we have pizza too?
Cool,
Someone
cool,
told him
cool.
he had to pay like 5,000 gold for some reason, and she's like, that's 30 pizzas. No. I'm
Wow,
like, that's a
that means the pizza is like more than a gold. Interesting. Um,
something like that.
cool, cool, cool. Is there a like a I
So,
guess a standout moment so far? And
um, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, no real moment has necessarily stood out to me, to be honest.
okay,
There's been okay ones, like she his childhood friend ended up becoming an adventurer. She got sword saint skill or something like that. So, she ended up joining the party that the nun had put together, but it ended up being a really corrupt party
mm-hmm.
that basically went around and yeah, they took care of like big bad bosses and monsters, but they didn't care about collateral damage and stuff like that.
Okay.
So like people's farms would get destroyed or people would get killed and like they didn't care. She cared. She tried to do anything about it, but they kept like pushing her back, ignoring her. So then when our main character Light ended up getting the sword god skill, he ended up challenging the leader of her party and that was kind of cool. I mean, it had its moments, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Just the satisfaction of seeing a jerk being put in his place is always nice.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. And I assume you're gonna be continuing this one.
Yeah, see, that's what I was like. I want to, and at the same time, I probably will. It's just more of just like some of their decisions in the story just annoy the crap out of me sometimes.
Okay.
So
Cool, cool, cool. Alright. The next show we're gonna be talking about is uh Izude. um oh, that's one I haven't grabbed yet. Here we go.
yeah, possibly the greatest alchemist of all time.
Yes. As soon as I saw the ranking Jushi, I was like, that looks familiar.
Yep. So, um, this one I would probably rank a little bit higher. So if I said that the old guy with the shopping skill and that one anime was a 6, this one I would say is probably a 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Still under campfire cooking, but still
Okay.
not bad.
Okay.
So it's interesting. He gets the basic story behind this one is that there was a hero summoning, and he wasn't supposed to be a part of it. He got dragged into it by mistake.
Because he's not a
He just
hero?
got his he was there when it took place, but kind of just by accident got took away as well. But see, the thing about it is that the hero summoning was done by a kingdom. The goddess who rules over this land had forbidden everybody from doing a hero summoning, but they did it
Uh,
anyways. And then he got caught up in it, but instead of getting transported to the kingdom, the goddess intervened and grabbed him before he could get taken there. And then apologized because he had been taken by mistake, and besides the fact that the ritual shouldn't have been done to begin with, and basically said that, you know, I'm going to give you some skills and some abilities, whatever you want, because I feel bad about what happened to you.
okay.
And he decided that one of the things that he was most interested was alchemy, the biggest thing. And the first couple episodes seemed like very laid back. Like things just kind of fall into place for him. He finds a town, they welcome him in. He ends up they end up being a great town for finding materials. They have a mine nearby, a forest nearby. He ends up fabricating a whole bunch of stuff, making a whole bunch of stuff. Ends up finding out that not only is he can do alchemy, but he's also a tamer because he ends up coming across a like a monster spider, and it's hurt, so he ends up healing it, and then it actually wants to go with him, and he ends up taming it and making it his pet, basically.
Mm, familiar.
Um, then he ends up going, yeah, basically familiar, and then he goes off to a bigger city because he wants to learn more, wants to travel some, and when he's there, he ends up finding out from the goddess that she gave him a blessing for at least the time that for the first, I don't know, couple of months so far that he's been in this world, but the blessing is about to run out. So everything he's done up until that point has been good luck for him because she blessed him for that reason.
Mm.
But now it's going to fall upon him to kind of forge his own way, which I like. So we were OP, things kind of fell into place, and the reason why it seemed that way is because it was that way. But now he's going to have to actually work at it and get some things done, kind of situation.
Okay. Cool, cool.
Um, so I mean, since then he's crafted and used a bunch of things. Like he's made one of the things he found out when he first got to the big city he went into is that they had no real system for plumbing kind of situation. And so the feces and all that was just kind of piling up in places. Because he went there and he's like, oh my god, what is that smell? And realized what it was. And he went, oh, so you guys don't. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, let me see what I can do. And he actually made toilets
Okay.
and made them where there's no like necessarily system of piping for them.
Yeah, I was like,
It's
well, plumbing.
basically it has purifying magic inside of it. Yeah, there's not really plumbing per se, but it's more it has purifying magic, so that way it kind of recycles itself, kind of situation.
Okay.
Anyways, magic stuff is what it comes down to. They explained it in some way, and I'm just like, cool, magic. That's all you gotta tell me. I'm fine. But he made that, and then he found a merchant that would basically start selling his stuff. So now all of a sudden, the merchant sold the toilet to the king, and the king absolutely loved it. So now all of a sudden, he's gaining popularity. He's gaining fame. They're wanting him to make more things. So the merchant told him he's probably going to need some assistance and such. So he ended up taking him to like a slaver who sounded bad, but it really wasn't. It was more like she was just kind of helping people who kind of either were war. Was it the evacuees kind of from like war situations from
Refugees.
other countries, refugees, yeah, so
Yes.
they were refugees, or they had been prisoners that had been it was a thing. So they made it a purpose being like they called it slavery at the first, but they're like, it's not quite what you think kind of situation, it's more of the nicer side of the situation. I was like, okay, cool, that's a little bit better, I think. So um but yeah, I think it's fun. It's very much fun. They really haven't had like there's no real huge conflict per se in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just like his day to day life, though they are alluding because they do show snippets of the the heroes who got or like people like him who got transported to the other side as quote unquote heroes, and one of them is very suspicious about the queen that of the kingdom that they came to, thinking that she can't be trusted, kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's other things going on, and I think at one point, someone up in quote unquote heaven with the goddess said something to her about the fact that when she grabbed him, she actually transported him back in time on her world a year before the heroes actually arrived at the other kingdom.
Oh,
So when she placed him after he had been pulled from our world, she actually when she grabbed him and then sent him to her world, she didn't just send him to her world, she sent him a year before the other heroes would actually even arrive.
okay.
So I think she has some plans or trying to do something in order to prevent whatever this kingdom is trying to do kind of situation.
Okay, yeah, because I was curious. Like, there should be a reason why they're summoning a hero,
Yeah.
and for the goddess to bring him back in time to, I guess, get him used to the world and maybe level up or something like that for a year until the
And
thing happens.
give him like people know him kind of situation and he has like the backing of the people maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and does I guess so far in the first couple episodes, it doesn't seem like that much time has passed.
Mm, I would say in the first couple episodes we might be already up to like 6 to 8 months kind of situation.
Okay,
So we're nearing the point when like the heroes would have been summoned kind of situation.
okay. Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see like what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
cool, cool,
Because the
cool.
goddess didn't give him any like particular task to say like this is what you needed to do while you're here. She just went, "I'm sorry for what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was never supposed to happen. Here's some skills, whatever you want, and you can go live your life here." I unfortunately, because the first question he asked, he's like, "Well, can you send me back?" And she's like, "I unfortunately can't."
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Um, any favorite character so far?
um, the main character, I think, Takumi. I think he's kind of a goofball. Um, he tries his best. I'll say that. He definitely, but there are definitely certain situations like the two people, his two assistants that he has now at this point. They're both female. Um, so she one point Maria, one of his assistants, asked for some cloth, and he's like, "What do you need cloth for?" And she's like, "I was gonna make some undergarments." And he was like, "Wait, under?" And then she's like, "Oh, well, what were you gonna make?" And she showed. She was like, "Oh, just gonna do this," and it was like some real like prehistoric looking like undergarments.
Hmm.
And of course, his mind, he thinks undergarments, bras and panties, basically. He's like, "Well, what about this?" And she's like, "Yes, please make that." And he's just like, "I shouldn't have said that. All right, yeah, I'll go ahead and make that for you." And when he does, see, they kind of like him because he's definitely kind of a softie. And so when he finally makes him and gives him to him, they're both look at him and go, "Well, should we try him on?" He's like, "No, no, I'm out here. You try him on. That's fine. I'm gonna go. I gotta get out of here." He runs off, and then one of them looks at the other and goes, "He's kind of a coward, isn't he?" And she's like, "Yeah, definitely kind of a coward." I'm like, "Oh, come on, give the guy a break."
That is funny. It's funny that they're like comfortable enough around him to like tease him. So
Yeah,
they seem like a fun bunch of characters. Cool, cool,
and he takes
cool.
it well. So,
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Any standout moments?
mm, not particularly.
Hmm.
Um, it's again, this is more of a chill kind of situation. Nothing extravagant has happened yet.
Hmm.
I'm sure that will probably change at some point, but at the moment, we've kind of been just like more of a ho hum drum kind of just daily life, just making sure we can get things done kind of situation.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Um, yeah, the next show we're gonna be talking about is. Oop! Almost did it. Um, this one.
Is this the? S rank monster. I was almost most afraid to talk about this one. I'll be honest.
Alright, let's get the
Um,
title out there. Um, Behenico, the elf girl's cat, is secretly an S ranked monster.
yeah. So this one, it started pretty good. Okay, it
Mm,
started pretty good. So this is a dude in their world gets killed. He is a knight in their world gets killed, and then
hmm
is reincarnated as a behemoth, a monster.
hmm
But he's a young behemoth, and apparently young behemoths look like kittens.
Okay.
So he's reincarnated in a dungeon as a monster, but he's like a kitten. He can devour other monsters and gain their abilities and their spells and stuff like that. Um, which is cool. So, like I said, at the beginning, this is all cool. At one point, he stumbles upon a like gold dragon, I think, or a bronze dragon or something like that, and that's way too powerful for him. He was still too far in his infancy to be able to do anything. So he ends up getting severely hurt, and his only choice in order to survive was to flee.
Mm,
So he leaves, and eventually he's trying to find the exit, and ends up coming across, and then the elf girl ends up coming across him. She confuses him for being a cat because that's what he looks like. So she takes him home and nurses him back to health. And he is now eternally grateful because he was a knight. He feels his knightly duty now to that she is now his master, and he is going to take care of her for helping him, kind of situation.
mhm.
He feels he owes a debt of gratitude.
Yes.
This elf, um, what can I say? They made her blonde, and it's probably for a very good reason because she acts it as much as stereotypical blonde as you possibly can. Like she has very little self-awareness, very little like she wants to be this powerful warrior because her village was saved by another powerful warrior, but she doesn't have it in her to be a powerful warrior. She could be a warrior for sure, but like yeah, her first thing is she's trying to use like these two giant blades as her weapons. She has no strength for that. She barely can handle them efficiently enough. So it ends up being later on that she ends up switching to like daggers that she can actually wield and actually use her ability because she's fast, so she can actually go fast. But she has a real big fascination with her newfound pet, and it verges on. Well, it doesn't just verge on it. Like she's made mention that if he was bigger, she would wish for him to do some things to her. Yeah, see, I saw that look. I'm like, yeah, no, what you're thinking, that's what she wants. And I'm like, and then there's been multiple instances that I'm just like, skip, 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 because she takes him into the bath. And unlike most anime scenes where it's nice fog covering things kind of situation, no, they show everything. They show everything. And I'm like, did we really need to? No, no, skip that. No, 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 no. Um, yeah.
Okay.
And then she makes friends with this blacksmith who is a half is a as a beast woman, and then all of a sudden now she kind of has feelings for this little cat who's actually a behemoth that no one knows about, and I'm just like, this is getting weird. This is getting very very weird. I'm like, if we could ignore that aspect of it and let's focus on like the adventuring and the killing of monsters kind of situation, I would be eternally grateful for that, please. Can we just go back to that? But every now and then we have to throw in this, yeah, and I'm just like, no, I don't need that. Thank you. It's just like every now and then it's like, oh, hey, boobs. Great. Can we move on, please? Move on, move on, move on, move on.
You're like, I signed up for the behemoth, and they're like, we did too.
Your definition is just a little bit different from ours. I'm like, I can see that. Thank you.
Okay. Uh,
Uh, and then apparently the dragon that he ended up defeating ended up being resurrected, of course, as a woman, and now wants to get with this behemoth cat because now her understanding is that she was a dragon inside of this dungeon who always wanted to, who was the big boss, and now something finally came along. Eventually, he goes back and actually defeats her because he needs to take her eye for some medicine that he needs to save the elf with at some point.
hmm.
So he defeats the dragon, and now she gets resurrected and wants to be with him because he defeated her. So now she's like, "Oh, you're strong. I want to get with someone who's strong." And when I mean get with, I mean seriously get with. And I'm like, you're bigger than him, lady. I'm not sure that's gonna work out too well for you.
It's like Donkey and the Dragon in Shrek.
It is just reversed.
um, are you continuing?
Meanwhile, this dude this entire time, I, I seriously, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I'm like, It's like they get to the killing of the monsters and the other stuff. I'm like, that's cool, and then boobs, and I'm just like, why boobs? And then we start doing these innuendos every now and then that we start throwing in there, and I'm like, why? So I almost feel like I could take it or leave this one, honestly.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Alright. The next show we're going to be talking about is um the one I forgot about. So this show is called Zenshu. Um
Ah, I was interested in watching this one. I do know some of what it's about.
yeah. So basically, um from what I can remember, this show is based on it's basically the main character is a um like an animator slash director, um, and she's made
Mm-hmm.
critically acclaimed films and shows and stuff like that before. And right now, she's currently working on her next masterpiece. So there's a lot of pressure on her. Um, everybody is um, everybody's kind of spoiled in her office. It's at the point where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when they were a startup before they had their big hits, like everybody was dedicated to the craft and they're working and like nobody has any money and like they're struggling and like they're just working hard for the goal. We enter the show
Mm-hmm.
when yes, they still have deadlines and all this other kind of stuff to approach, but a lot of the staff has like made their money and they're just kind of chilling around. They're like, well, the director always comes up with something great, so let's just leave it up to her. And they're like walking in with like this is one lady walking in with all these fancy clothes and stuff like that, and she's like not really paying attention to what she's doing. And they're like, "Hey, we had all this food
Mm-hmm.
before, and like like we think the clams are kind of not good, so we should throw those out." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, go put those over to the thing, and then we'll throw those out later." And somebody grabs one of the clam meals and feeds it to the director, and she ends up choking on it and dying. Um, she gets
Death by clams. All right. Well, that's interesting.
yeah, so she gets reincarnated in this TV show slash movie. I can't remember which one it was, but basically it was it was a not very popular at all show, but it was something that she really loved.
Mm-hmm.
and she gets thrown into that story. She doesn't realize it at first, which I don't know why, but um, she recognizes the main character, kind of like tries to negotiate with him, saying like I'm not supposed to be here, things like that. And then these weird void monsters come around. He slays one of those, um, and then um, it's kind of weird because it's like if you think of like a show like this that's maybe catered towards kids and stuff like that,
Mm.
the heroes and the sidekicks and their whole group, they're all like happy and like, hey, we'll help you and save you and all this kind of stuff. But the side of them that she gets is like when the director says cut and everybody kind of like gets out of character a little bit.
Mm.
It's like she sees the
Yeah, yeah.
scenes in between the scenes that are actually in the movie.
The real shit going on.
Yeah. So they kill the monster and then they go off and they're about to head back into town and she's like, hey, and they're like, yeah, you'll find your way, and just leaves her. And I'm like, what the hell? Um so she ends up making it back into town. I can't remember exactly how, but they are having a celebration. They're like, oh, the hero saved us again. Oh, and they're having this big feast. And I don't know what it is about this director. She may also be like in that kind of spoiled territory because she's like made big hits and like she doesn't have to struggle anymore. So she kind of, and also she's the director, so she's kind of like the
Mm.
boss of everybody. So she kind of does what she wants, and everybody else like, yes, man, yes, man. So she sees the food on the table, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's my favorite food," and just like starts to try to eat it. And I'm like, "Hey, like this is a feast for the hero. What are you
Yeah.
doing?" And it's like it also kind of makes sense because she's like really, really familiar with the world, so she like just sees stuff, and she's like, "I know this. This is food. This is delicious. I'm gonna eat it. I'm hungry," and like doesn't really like I guess know
Eti-
her place in this world.
Etiquette is not on the top of her priority list.
That's the word. She has zero etiquette. So they like he like takes the food away from her. He's like, no, and they like I can't remember if they like put her in like a prison or like just kick her into like alley or something like that. But they get her away, and then she kind of steps back and like realizes what's around her, and then she's basically like in like at that moment she's basically standing in a scene of the show slash movie, and she starts remembering like what's about to happen, and she's like, a kid's gonna run and fall, they're gonna say this is gonna happen, and she's like, oh, I'm in that show. And
Mm-hmm.
then she realized, she kind of like fast forwards the show, is like, oh, this is about to happen, wait a minute, I need to tell these people to try to help them, and she's already like terrible first impression, so nobody wants to listen to her. And then also, they're not the nicest people. So like, you would think that this like playful unicorn that like is all happy go lucky would be the nicest person to her, and no, he or she, that unicorn absolutely hates her. Like whenever she looks at her, she like growls. It's like, ugh. And I'm like, do horses growl? Like,
Apparently.
yeah. I'm like, that's an actual scary thought to think about. And so basically she tries to help, they ignore her, and basically what happens in the actual show plays out. And then all of a sudden there are hundreds of thousands of void monsters just coming over the sand dunes, and they're coming towards the village, and I'm like, this is apocalyptic. Like, this is
Mm.
like, are there other heroes
The
on
end
the way?
days.
Yeah, I'm like, are there other heroes? Like, these three, four, five maybe heroes are not gonna do anything. I don't care if you got a unicorn. That's not gonna help this situation.
You're not Deadpool. This isn't gonna help you.
So, um, so yeah. So basically, they go out and they're like, "Oh, it's time to fight." And they go out, and she's like, "No," because she knows that the hero's supposed to die in this scene. And
Mm.
and they go out, and the unicorn starts prepping his like, oh, that's what it is. The hero runs out, I think the unicorn like stops him and like stops him from sacrificing himself, and then the unicorn starts prepping like like a self detonation thing to kind of like take out as many people as he can. And the girl knows what's happening, so um, right before she tries to like run out there, um, something on her starts talking. I can't remember what it is. Oh, it's like I guess it's like a straight edge. It's like some tool that helps you draw straight lines, and
Mm-hmm.
it's it's similar to a straight edge that I had. I don't know what the exact thing is, but that thing starts like glowing and just like, hey, blah blah blah. And then she like was ignoring it at first. She finally realizes what it is, and oh, there it is. She's holding in the picture that little black thing. Um,
Yeah, like an artist tool.
yes. So she takes that, and it's like you can transform. And I'm like, is this a magical girl show? And then she just goes into this transformation sequence, and it's not her that transforms. It's like animation stuff starts like being all magical. So like there's like a stack of papers and it starts flipping through like a flip book, and then like other things start flying across the screen, and then there's this magical desk, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't.
So I've seen part of that. So
Yeah.
I've seen it, and this is the reason why I was tempted to watch this one. It looks gorgeous,
Yes.
especially in those scenes. It looks gorgeous.
Yes. So like that starts happening, and then she like jumps onto the desk and it's like it's about to start making some stuff, and I'm like, okay, and she just starts just drawing her heart out, and I'm like, okay, and then she pauses for a second and sharpens the pencil and then starts drawing. I'm like, no, 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 no. Why do you need to sharpen a magical pencil? Magical pencils should just always stay sharp. They're magic. What the hell? So that threw me completely out of it.
Your magical pencil's not
I'm
as
like,
magical as it should be.
I'm like that. I get it. Like, I get it. I get what you were doing because, as far as animators go, I'm like, you're drawing a lot, and you need to sharpening is half the stuff you do.
This is an anime wanting to make animators look cool.
I get that part. Um, and it's a unique transformation sequence. It's just the sharpening of. I'm like, you gotta
They're just
be, you gotta
they're
be
just
in.
like, we want to do it dramatically. Ah, sharpen. Ah, see, it's all cool looking. Ah.
Yes, and I get that, but then I'm over here, and I'm like, do you want to be ultimate and magical, or do you
Or realistic.
a realist? Yes, and I'm like, you can't. You're trying to be both, and it just doesn't work.
Trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I'm like, pull out your magical pencil that never needs to be sharpened and just draw some crazy cool stuff and have it fly off the page. That's like that's
Maybe it doesn't, and it's only because she's an animator that she feels like it should. So she's doing it even though she doesn't have to do it. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
Because you get into that like it in order for it to seem more realistic for her to do it, it has to be sharpened, but it doesn't actually have to be sharpened.
Yeah, I was just like that. Just threw me completely. That's like in Naruto. You know that like I would say later on in the show, there's this one character who like draws, like
Mm-hmm.
he paints like monsters to come fly off the page.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if he pulled out a little jar of ink and he's like, hold on, dip, 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 and then draws it and then they come fly off the page. I'm like, that's an extra step that you didn't need. So
So much anguish over a pencil.
yeah, so I'm just like, that completely threw me out of it. So she does that, draws this like crazy, crazy looking monster, and then it just goes. It has this like weird rotating mouth with like rotating teeth, like a shark or a something, and then it starts like glowing, and it's just like, and it just wipes the entire area. All the monsters incinerated, and because of the explosion, it like knocks the unicorn out of its sequence. So he thinks that he let it off, and then he ends up like upside down, head in the sand. Everybody's safe, and then the unicorn like pops out of the sand and like looks at all the devastation, and he was like, "Yeah, I did it!" It starts running around. I saved everybody, and I'm like, "Okay, just let him have that." And then yeah, and I believe the episode ends there. So
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the show was very, very nice looking. The only bad thing about it for me was like the pencil sharpening thing, but that's a
The
transformation
pencil.
sequence.
The
But
goddamn pencil.
but that's like nitpicking like a any kind of like Sailor Moon transformation. You're like, I don't like that ribbon, so it's not a deal breaker. So I
I think it might be worse than the ribbon, to be honest. But, you know.
so I think I'm on board to continuing this show because um it was it's an interesting way to do an isekai. It's an interesting way to
Mm-hmm.
see like kind of like a family of like a character being put into like a family themed show like movie or show where
Mm-hmm.
not only do you see the parts from from the original movie, you also see the in between scenes where the characters aren't the most family friendly. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was very interesting. So also like that explosion that like took out all those void monsters. I'm like, so was that the big bad, or is there something worse coming? Because originally in the movie they didn't make
Oh,
it.
I'm sure there's something worse.
Yeah, I'm like, they didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to go from a couple little scouts here and there to massive army, I'm like, this is just the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what else is there? So I'm very, very intrigued.
Fair
Um,
enough.
yeah, as far as characters, I do like the unicorn. Um, it's
The derpy
it,
little unicorn.
yeah. Um, he's like oblivious at sometimes. He's like the meanest person I've ever seen at other moments. And then he's so fake every now and then, like, oh, hi, kids. And I'm like, fuck you, man. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I'm going to be continuing this one.
Fair enough.
All right. For the two shows that we have been waiting for. The first one is Solo Leveling Season 2.
Oh boy, man, this is I think everyone would agree this is the most hype show of the season, and for good reason too.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, from my perspective, it hits. I'm sure from your perspective, it hits because it is
Oh,
also very gorgeous.
oh man.
Like those animations and things that they do in there is just outstanding.
I I haven't been hyped up by a show like this in a very long time. Mostly because I've been on hiatus.
Mm.
But since the last time, um, yeah, since the last time we've been doing shows, this is like the new hype. I think the last time it was uh, Jujutsu Kaisen, and
Hmm.
now and now we
Yeah, for
have
sure.
and
I would say that probably matches that.
yeah
So
now yeah now we have Solo Leveling.
it oh God. I mean, it just it hits on so many aspects, and I think it does itself just a great service on each aspect that it does it in.
Yes.
From the fact that he is from the world building that they're in, um, and I'm talking about even from back in season 1 to season 2 now.
Hmm.
Which honestly, I think this is more like core 2, not necessarily like season 2. But I mean, I know there was a big separation between them, so I get why they would say that.
Yeah. As far as story, um, there were like between the two seasons there was no gap. So it's like
No, so
they
I feel like
just
this is more like core 2.
yes. I was yeah core two part two. They just
Hmm.
needed a production gap. They're like
Yeah,
we want to keep the quality up, so we're gonna pause a bit
yeah,
and then work on it to make it as good as it needs to be.
sure, 100%.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because, good God, it is. And again, like I said, so from the storylines to the world building, I mean, the details that they put into everything, like the only thing I could say that has, you know, that a level of like detail for that as far as like the storyline and plot points and stuff like that was maybe like slime having something akin to that. It's
Hmm.
like you feel like there are certain parts that are kind of more of a throwaway situation, but in reality they're setting up for future things.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. I feel
Yes.
like there's not any waste in any of this. It's all and none of it. I know that they're leaving certain things out from the manhwa. I know that.
Hmm.
But I still appreciate the pacing and the way that they take their time in going through things.
Hmm.
Like everything he does, like is he overpowered? Yes. But everything he does has worth, has meaning, and you feel like he Sung Jin Woo like pushes for it every single time.
Hmm.
Like I'm when he succeeds and he kicks butt in certain instances, I'm as hyped up. I'm probably more hyped up than he is most of the time. I'm sitting there going, yes, yeah,
Yes.
I
Um,
haven't felt that level since watching Don Machi.
yes. 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 Um, so I would say because this is one of those shows that's of a level of most likely a 5 out of 5 for both of us. Um, I would like to do like
Oh, for sure.
like a surface level chat, and then I would like to go into like a deep discussion like we usually do on shows of this caliber.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say overall, um, this show is basically um, it's it takes place in a world where there are dungeons just popping up in random places in the real world. Um, the dungeons have a certain time limit that they need to be beat before it becomes a portal between both
Hmm.
worlds. And when that happens, then the monsters that are inside the dungeon can come out into the real world, and that has happened a
Hmm.
couple times. Basically,
Hmm.
character-wise, you follow.
Most notably, as far as that goes, on the island.
Uh, oh yes, and I'm curious. Like
As
they,
in, most notably that the dungeon break, the most notable dungeon break has been that Jeju Island.
yes, and it like the series starts there, and then kind of like it's one of those kind of teaser things where it's like this may be where the end of the season like resolves, but let's jump to before that, and then they kind of seem like they're working their way back to the island.
Hmm.
Um, well, as far as characters go, we have Sung Jin, who is the main character. He basically starts out as as low as you can be. He
Hmm.
ends up becoming awakened, which means you have the power to go into the dungeons and basically explore slash fight through them. Um,
Well, see, he's something different
yes, after
because he
the
he's after the initial like two episodes in the first season, he's something different because they have reawakened and they know of the reawakened
yes,
in their world. But the difference between that is reawakened. Yes, you gain more power when you're reawakened, but you're never supposed to gain more than like once you reawaken, that's now your new level, and you're not
yes,
supposed to go past that. He
yes,
continues to go past that.
yes, yeah. So initially, before he goes into the double dungeon where that stuff starts taking place, he's basically one of the lowest ranked. Like basically, there's basically tiers from
Oh,
S that
he's the lowest of the low.
yeah, he's like a low E.
Yeah.
uh, and then basically goes from E all the way up to A, and then once you pass A is basically the highest that you can get measured with the standard equipment. Once you go
Mm-hmm.
above that, you become like an anomaly, and they have to get special equipment to measure you from there. And anything above basically what the standard equipment can measure, you become S tier, and that could be low S tier or crazy crazy high S tier.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, at the beginning of the story, Jinwoo is going through a couple of dungeons, and then he ends up going into this one dungeon with this one group where they find a second dungeon inside of it. Um, they take the chance and go through the second part of the dungeon and basically find this super crazy boss, and about half of them don't make it out.
Oh,
He and
more than half of them.
yes, and then he ends up being left behind and comes into a situation where he gains this crazy special power. And like you said, it's this power that basically turns his leveling system into the leveling system of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Most other people, like you said, you get your one awakening, and every now and then there's a second awakening, and that second awakening just cements you in another. So you can go like you can awaken the first time as a C, and then the second time you awaken again as an A, and then you're just stuck at A. With Jinwoo, he's an E, and he starts gaining more powers and more levels. And even though he goes through these different incidents, he gets measured again, like right after the first double dungeon, and he's still E, and he still measures 10. But all through the first season, he starts gaining more and more and more powers. And then once we reach the second season, he basically encounters enough things to where he decides to get remeasured, and then he becomes an S, which is really really cool.
So at the beginning of season two, he is what most people believe to be a mid to high A, basically.
Yes.
After the red portal dungeon that he goes through,
Mm.
and then well no, it takes him going through the red portal dungeon and then going back to Demon Castle in order for him to actually by the time he leaves Demon Castle, that is when he is officially an S rank.
Yes.
What's fun though is that Igris, his main shadow right now in his army, even when he was in the red dungeon, Igris would probably be ranked as an S.
Yes.
So like as he said before in the dungeon, he's not even at that time, he wasn't even as powerful as his most powerful shadow,
Yes.
which is crazy.
Yes. So, um, that's basically where the series is left off right now. Where I haven't seen the latest episode, but from the last episode that I saw, he basically got reevaluated and is getting all these different offers, and everything is kind of changing. So
So the point with I think here's the thing. We can as far as in this world, you can measure up to A rank.
yes,
But once you hit past that point, like you said, he's an S rank. But I don't think there's actually any equipment that they have that is going to actually gauge how how big of an S rank he is. It's just as the chairman said, once you are no longer capable of being identified with the equipment, you are just automatically put in S, and that's it. So
Yes.
like, even though they told him to come back, as the chairman said, it's just a formality.
Hmm.
It's not even necessary. They're not even going to actually do any further quote unquote testing on him. It's already the fact that he's just an S.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm going to say right now, I have to be kind of careful because of my scrolling through YouTube and stuff and a lot of shorts that I've seen. I have seen a little bits and pieces about this as show as well, which intrigues me even more. I
Hmm.
mean, there are things that I could say, but I mean, I think one of the biggest thing I could probably let you chew on as far as something to think about is by the end of season 1, when he goes to the job change quest, he gets his baseline that he ends up getting is necromancer, but because of all the bonus points that he got for it, he got upgraded to shadow monarch.
Yes.
Here's the thing to consider: the title shadow monarch. Are there other monarchs?
Oh.
Something to consider.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
And something that he has said himself, Sun Jin Woo has said, he keeps referring to the system. The system, as in, even from the first one. From the first season, he mentioned, stuff like when he was facing, oh god, when he was facing those first group that wanted to kill him and Jinho in the spider dungeon or whatever,
Oh yeah, the dudes
he
that abandoned
mentioned
them.
that, yeah, he mentioned that the system wanted him strong.
Hmm.
The system felt like it needed to have him strong.
Yes.
Question being, is there a reason for that? Why does the system need him strong?
Hmm.
Now, this also can go back to the fact that we've now seen Sun Jingwoo's dad,
Yes.
who is a beast for sure. I mean, he managed to just absolutely wipe the floor with someone who we had considered before that to be a big bad that we were worried about Jinwoo for,
Not only
but
us,
he
but
just
everybody else knew
absolutely,
about him.
yeah, and his father just absolutely wiped the freaking floor with him. He's probably lucky to be alive. His father just took pity on freaking Dongsuk, and I
Yeah.
was just like, but the fact that his dad mentioned the fact that there is a catastrophe coming, and the
Okay.
fact that any number, it doesn't matter how many hunters you throw at it, they will just be used against you.
Okay.
What does that sound like? What does that sound
Shadows.
like?
Shadows.
Yeah,
Okay.
interesting thought on that one. Now,
Okay.
his dad's been gone for 10 years, so he has no idea what Jinwoo's been up to since that time.
Yeah.
Another interesting thought.
Okay.
So, what's going to happen when his dad ends up meeting up with him and realizing what he is now? Because I think his dad would be able to figure out. Because
Oh.
you notice that in when he got reevaluated, the chairman of the other of the Hunters Guild ends up coming in and sees him and immediately can see the aura around him and recognize him for what he was.
Yeah.
I think when you hit S rank, you're able to perceive those in higher positions. Like you can see another S rank for what they are.
I think.
You know what I mean?
I think even earlier than that, cause
Because he sees Chowhei as that.
or
Well,
may,
maybe when you're like an A or a B, you can kind of see a little bit. But I think that's only for Sung Jin Woo though.
Ah,
I
okay.
think the higher ones can only recognize the higher ones in that regards.
Well,
Anyone
some.
below that, I don't know if they can really see or recognize them for what they are. They might be able to guess, but I don't think they're going to be able to truly, because okay, the dude that was scouting that was in there, he
Uh,
said, "Well, that one looks like a C and that one
yes.
looks like an E."
Yes, that's
But
what I was
here's
gonna
the
bring up.
thing. If you notice in the background when Sung Jin Woo is talking, you because he tells the dude, right? He says when they're sitting in there about to get reevaluated, the guy's like, "Oh, I gotta earn more money so my ex-wife and my daughter will come back," right?
Mm,
He goes, "Well, as long as you're not in E rank, you should be fine."
mm,
And those scouts will actually come in and talk with you, kind of
yes.
situation, and you can earn that money. Well, you notice when they're talking with Sung Jin Woo out in the lobby, the dude comes out and is celebrating. The scout initially said, "Oh, he's an obvious E rank." He wouldn't have been celebrating unless he was at least a D rank
Mm,
or higher. So I tend to think that those in the lower ranks maybe can get some sense, but they're not really accurate. It isn't
yeah.
until you hit the higher ranks that you're like you can actually see those of the lower and be able to perceive them for what they truly are.
Yeah. It's a skill that gets sharper the stronger you become.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So
So,
my thought is that when his father meets up with him, he's going to see for him for what he truly is, and I don't know if that's going to cause an issue, maybe.
yeah, because it depends. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the his dad knows a lot about the world. Um, they are the hunters and the
And
monsters.
a lot about the dungeons too, the portals,
Yes.
because that was one of his first questions was how much do you guys know about it? Like he didn't want to give any information unless he knew for sure what their level of information was.
Yeah. So, it's like as far as most of the characters that we're seeing, though, it's civilians, hunters, and monsters. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and then also whatever Jinwoo is, because he's like
Mm-hmm.
he's a hunter, but then he has all this other extra stuff with him, so we don't really know.
Well,
And
he's
then
he's labeled as a player.
yeah, and like that one,
According to the system, he's labeled as a player.
yes, and then that one elf was like, "You're not human,"
Yeah,
so it would make
but then
sense
again,
because maybe he died in that double dungeon and became something else.
I'm telling you, man, I think the monarch situation is a
Yeah.
key in that regards. I
Okay.
think he is something beyond a hunter
Yes.
and beyond a civilian and beyond a monster. I think the monarch situation is part of that, but I think we're missing probably two key levels above what is a hunter considered.
Okay. Good. 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 Okay. So I would like to
Like
start.
there's something behind the scenes pulling the strings that we're just not even aware about at this time.
Oh yes. Okay. So
Because
I.
notice whenever I was gonna say, I noticed whenever he goes into a dungeon, something else happens. Like it's never just an ordinary dungeon. There's
Yes.
always something that
He's like, I'm
happens.
just gonna watch. Never.
No, you're not gonna watch. It's
uh,
always the double dungeon, the red gate, like something always ends up happening. And he was gonna get some information from that elf, but something stopped that elf from telling him what he wanted to know.
mhm.
Key information that was about to be divulged to him.
Yes.
So again, something's behind the scenes.
Yes. Okay. So I would like to go through the dungeons and then go through the characters. So for anyone who would not like to be spoiled with the details, I would say go ahead and skip to the next show that we're talking about. Um, but yeah, so um, what the first dungeon that he went into was not the double dungeon, was it?
So yes, the first
Okay.
dungeon he went into that we saw him do Now they alluded to him other dungeons he's done in the past during
Yes.
that dungeon,
Yes.
but the only one we saw him go through was the double dungeon.
Okay. Um, so basically, other than the crack that led to the other dungeon, it seemed to be a regular dungeon. There
Correct.
was nothing special about it. They, the people who were stronger, dispatched the monsters, and then they were about to head out until they found the other passageway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the second part of that dungeon was a very cool like puzzle.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it was very interesting that he basically figured out how to get everybody out. Um, I,
I think they alluded to. I think because of the type of personality he is and what he's had to go through. He's when you have a person who is not very strong, but is put into situations where he has to contend with people who are strong or is strong.
mhm.
The only thing you have available to you at that point is your brains, is your
Yes,
smarts.
yes,
So the ability to actually be able to and see in those situations, a lot of times the biggest problem is people panic too much when they're in a situation where it's do or die. Most of those hunters have never been in a situation like yeah, they're fighting monsters and stuff like that, but they always know one they have backup and two it's at their level or their roundabouts.
yes,
Sun Jin Woo, every dungeon he goes into is a life or death situation for him.
yes,
It is death on the line every single time. So
yes,
for him, he was able to enter that and take charge and command because it's just another day for him.
mhm,
Yeah, it's death around every corner, but he deals with that on the regular.
yeah. It's like,
So he was able to keep calm on that situation.
yeah, it's like regular old death or super dangerous death. It's still death.
It's still death. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm still gonna die either way.
yeah,
So I mean that to me, I get that. So I see where he was able to really do that. But the thing about that is too is that because when since he was the only one left at the end, I think I don't know. Again, we were talking about someone is behind the scenes pulling the strings. I feel like because he only became the player after he completed it, and he only completed it because he was the only one left at the end of it.
mhm,
To me, it's like whoever's behind the scenes pulling the strings, that dungeon was there as a testing grounds.
yes,
It's like who is worthy enough to complete this?
yeah. Because it's like either who is going to sacrifice themselves and let everyone out, or who's going to be left behind and wants a second chance.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing you said is the more apt thing because it was the test of courage.
Yes,
You have to be courageous enough to be able to bite the bullet in that regards and sacrifice yourself for the sake of everyone else.
yes, but with his situation, like some people just left him. So
Yeah,
it wasn't like you go, I'll take the bullet. They're just like I'm going to my wife
yeah.
and children.
Well, but see again, that's the test of courage because he was willing to stay behind. He almost wasn't. He
Yes.
almost wasn't. If what's her name's legs hadn't given out on her the way they did,
Hmm.
it would have been the old guy who would have stayed behind,
Yes.
not him.
Yes.
So it almost wasn't.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, as far as like a dungeon and a puzzle, out of all of the shows that we've watched that had this dungeons in them, this was probably one of the scariest.
Oh, for sure. Because you just didn't know.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that I was defeating an enemy. It was just like I was just trying. You're just trying to survive,
Yeah.
and it's like you have literally invincible enemies around you that you cannot do anything against. and who can kill you in an instant should they choose if you do something wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you fight against that? And
And
you
it,
know,
it's
that's
like,
that's the scary part.
yes, it is like all the instructions are riddles. So it's like
Hmm.
they're like, we gave you the we gave you the instructions, and it's like, what does praise thee mean? I don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, so as far as the opening of the show, like that was really really cool.
Oh, it hooked you right from the get go.
Yeah. Um, let's see, what was the dungeon after that?
The dungeon after that was the key dungeon the first key dungeon he came across.
Oh, where he just got stomped by a Cerberus.
No, 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 no. That's the second one. The
Okay.
first one, the first key dungeon is when he faced the serpent. That was the first one he went into by himself. The first enemy he faces were the goblins, then he faces the wolves, and that's where he gets the title of wolf assassin. And then after leveling up, I think he was like he was in like the high teens at that. I think at that point, he goes downstairs to. It was in the subway situation. He goes downstairs and he faces off against the serpent,
That's
and
right.
he kills the serpent like because he had increased his strength so much by literally crushing its neck with his bare hands.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. It's like I remember the serpent part, but I don't remember the parts before that.
Yeah. And that was just his basics of just because that was the first time he ever leveled up.
Yeah.
He had been doing his dailies previous to that and gaining like a point here and there to
Dailies. He's like, I'll do that
use.
later. And it was like, fine, throw you out in the desert.
Now you didn't want to run and do your other exercises. Now you better run to survive.
uh, and yeah, I do like the dailies because it's like the system wants him strong, and it's like you need to do these exercises or else.
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, so after that dungeon, then it was the key dungeon with Cerberus.
Yes.
Okay, Cerberus.
Oh God.
Cerberus shoots the shit out of him. It's just
Oh, it did. It did. And see, to me, I feel like this also, just like with all his other fights, all his fights that he has, whether it was with Cerberus, was with the Serpent, however it was. I mean, one, I like the fact that he's not invincible. He gets the shit knocked out of him. He
Oh yeah.
he he gets badly injured and all this other stuff. He's just lucky enough that he has the ability to heal as it is.
Yes.
Um, but at the same time, it shows, I think, again, his determination and his, like, for lack of a better term for it, like his relationship with death. Because a lot of these times he is on death's doorstep essentially,
Yeah.
and but he still his grit and his determination is what pushes him over.
Yes.
Where most people in his situation would just give up and say, I'm done, he perseveres, which is one thing you could really say about his personality.
One thing that like it makes me laugh, but it also frustrates me to like the nth degree is he he's resourceful. Like whenever he can find a way to bring in some kind of tool to like help him out, he will bring it. So
Yeah,
like in the Cerberus fight, he had one of those stones that could like just tell like let's just get out of jail free card. And in one of the other dungeons, he also had another one. But this show will never let him use it. Some like either a armor knight will have some kind of hammer and just smack it out of his hand, or Cerberus will just slap him into a wall and he'll drop it. It's it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, perseverance. It's like even without that, like being strong enough to get out of those dungeons is an amazing feat.
oh for sure.
But then to also bring in a tool and it gets just slapped out of your hands. I'm just like, oh, this poor guy. I'm like, show, please stop doing this to him. But it's also very, very funny.
Oh, for 100%, 100%. We did miss though, I will say, before the demon gate dungeon,
Mm.
he did go to that one dungeon where he faced off against the giant spider. That was before the demon gate.
Ah, yes, where those dudes just left them so then they could mine all those crystals.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, him and Junhee.
yeah, it's that's basically also where he like got the target, like got a really big target on his back.
Started to.
Oh, because in that where the S rank is after him now.
Yeah, but I mean, he's gotten a big target on his back for many reasons. That
Yeah, I
that's just the
guess.
that was just the starting point of when he actually became a known threat.
Okay, so I would say everything that he was doing before that, people were suspicious about him, and then that was the first target on his
I
back.
don't even think he was on anyone's radar at that point in time.
Well, that was the
He was
one.
he wasn't on anyone's radar at that point because he was still believed to be an E rank. The only reason that he was even started to like at the double dungeon, they were like, "Are you reawakened because you came back?" But he never got he when he got reassessed, he was still an E rank. So
Yes.
after that, he was just pushed to the side.
So I would say the people who are in the know, who are like scouting, there's a lot of scouts that were like, wait a minute, he survived this, he survived that. They're like, something's up.
But yeah, the spider dungeon is what started that.
Yes.
But it wasn't until he started that, and then, well, I mean, it wasn't even until after the assassin that he faced that was part of the guild,
Uh-huh.
the one that had the cloaking, that he got the cloaking ability from. Then other guilds were like, "Wait, he survived all these things, and he's still how? We got to go check this guy out."
Okay.
That's
So,
when they started like scouting him.
okay. So maybe it wasn't until like the third or fourth event that
It
started
was the
happening.
third. It was the third event that they started scouting him.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
So
Cool. Um, but yeah. Once the dude's brother was like, cancel my appointments. I'm taking a
yeah,
plane right now. I was like, oh no.
yeah,
And then the dude was like, you can't cancel this one appointment. And he's like, oh, you're lucky. I'm like,
yeah.
when is he coming back? And then he kind of just showed up like, without any warning. Just like drove up in the car. And he's like,
Hmm.
where is he? And I'm like, I didn't even know you were coming here today. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so after the other dungeon where he got left in, and then he went to the Cerberus one. Was that when they started doing the dungeons on their own, or did he go into another one before that?
No, it was after the dungeon one that he went to do it on his own.
Okay,
After
so
the demons dungeon, then he went to start. He went with Jinho on doing C rank dungeons,
yes, so yeah, so he's basically started farming all those dungeons, and then
and it was after that he went to the job quest.
job quest, which is that one again?
That was in episode 11 and 12. That was at the very end of the first season. The job change quest dungeon, where he became a Shadow Monarch.
Uh, that's not part of the. That wasn't after Cerberus.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You were saying after Cerberus, where I was like, it was he did Cerberus, then he did the grind with the multiple dungeons that he was doing, and then it was after that is when he did the job change.
Which is back in the Cerberus dungeon, but it was just the other levels of it.
Nope,
No.
nope, no. He got the job change key because he did. It was during his leveling up,
Mm-hmm.
during the multiple dungeons that he was grinding in,
Mm-hmm.
where a notification popped up saying job change quest available. Do you accept?
Mm-hmm.
And he just left it there because he didn't want to do it right then and there. And it
Yes.
wasn't until after he left, and I remember he sold those dungeons that the Jinho had
Yes.
reserved for him to the guild.
Yeah, that was
That
nice.
he after he left one of the dungeons when he was doing the grind, he asked Jinho what their schedule was like because he wanted to do the job change quest, but he wanted to see what time he had available to do that in.
Hmm.
He sold those other dungeons because he wanted to go do the job change quest, but he didn't want to just cancel the dungeons and miss out on all that money. So
Yes.
he sold the dungeons off for exorbitant fee, and
Yes.
then left to do the job change quest,
Okay. So
and that ended the first season.
I want to split in my head. There's a dungeon that has 100 levels that he went up to, and then
That's the demon's gate.
okay, and
So
then
that was where he faced Cerberus,
okay, and
and then
he
that's where he went back to in the second season so far.
after the job quest.
Yeah, after the job quest,
Okay,
he became Shadow Monarch before he did that.
so in the job quest one, yes, that makes sense. In the job quest one, what all was that dungeon? I know it ended with a the guy.
That's where he faced. That's where he faced Igris.
Yes, but was it just that part of it?
So it was a hallway he entered into that told him he couldn't use potions and or utilize the store or a teleportation stone.
Hmm.
And then it was knights, mages, archers, and such that he was facing on his way to the throne room where Igris was.
Okay. Okay, so that all of that just encompassed the.
Yeah,
Okay, cool, cool,
the
cool,
job
cool.
change quest. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So, um, Igris is the coolest knight.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
I
god.
mean, when Jinwoo put away his weapons, seeing Igris stick his sword into the ground and just being he doesn't say anything, but in my mind I'm thinking he sees Jinho or yeah Jinwoo put away his weapons. He's like, oh, is that how we're gonna play? Sticks his sword into the ground, throws his own like backup weapons he had to the side. He's like, all right, we'll go hands. That's
Yeah.
fine. We can do that.
Ah, yes. Um, with that, it was it was cool to see him like realize that he had to take out the mages first.
Hmm.
I kind of feel like it took a while for him to figure that out.
Oh, it did.
Um,
I think at that point, though, I mean, you got to give the guy credit. He's been extremely flustered. He was tired. He was hurt. I
he
mean, yeah,
just
he'd been
finished
healed, but
battling.
th- yeah, at the same time, he'd been healed. But here's the thing: even though you're healed, the mental scarring of being hurt is still there.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like in his fight with Cerberus, he had like lost an arm, but it's not like yeah, and he got it healed back. But the feeling and his brain of going, I lost an arm, is still there.
yeah,
It's still very much a part of him. That
yeah,
doesn't go away.
yeah. Um, yeah. It's it's like all these different dungeons. It's like completely different experiences. Like comparing the dungeons in this show to like
Hmm.
um like dungeon, it's it's like all the dungeons in the show dungeon kind of felt similar. They're like
Hmm.
themed differently, but they're basically kind of all just caves. Um, this show, it's like one's in a city, another one's in a cave, another one's a castle. It's like one's just a
Hmm.
long hallway to a throne room. It's the variety of the dungeons. One is a forest. Like,
Hmm.
um, it's.
It
I'm
keeps
wondering.
it fresh.
Yes, and I'm wondering like what's gonna happen to future shows when they do dungeons. Like the bar is being
Una?
pushed. Like yeah, the bar is being pushed with this show.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
so after the job change quest, and he gets the Shadow Army, which is really 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 cool.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, I was like, how soon is he gonna use these guys? Immediately.
I
um,
mean, wouldn't you? I mean, come on.
oh, and it's really really cool that like one thing that you said he like he always pushes forward. Um,
Hmm.
I love the fact that every time he gets a new shiny toy, he's like immediately ready to use it. And he's like, "Oh, anybody I can kill, I
Hmm.
could just add to my army real quick." And I'm like, "Dude, how many people you gonna have in your army?" um, and th-
See, I knew from the beginning when that even before I knew all the other things I know now, I knew from the beginning when I saw him have that power. I was like, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, monsters. He can bring monsters back that he kills." And I'm like, "Wait a sec. On previous occasions, we killed people. Can we bring them back?" And then it was the beginning of season 2 that went, "Oh, by the way, that question you had, let's answer that right now.
yeah,
Let's bring a person back."
yeah. Um, and yeah, as far as like bringing people back, it's interesting who he can bring back and who he can't. Like
Hmm.
he gets 3 tries, and
Hmm.
with Igris, it was poetic the way he
Oh,
like
100%.
convinced him.
And he had to.
Yeah,
I don't think here's the thing. I don't think it's level based. I don't think it's a matter of who's stronger. Because if that's the case, he never would have gotten Egris.
yeah,
I think he's the shadow monarch. If you're a monarch, you're a king or queen, you're a ruler. You have to have that level of leadership, charisma, just leader ability, raw power, just and I think that, like we said before, because of his perseverance, his stick to itiveness in that sense, I think when he did his little speech that he did, I think that's really what got Egris to come out.
yeah,
And I think that's the exact reason why the elf that he faced later on didn't.
yeah. And
Because
it's
the elf had nothing but disdain for him. He wanted, especially even in his last moments, he wanted to kill him. He wanted to kill him. He didn't want to. So the fact that he tried to resurrect him after that, I think is like, you're not getting him.
yeah.
I'm like, it would have been cool to get him, but I'm like, you're not getting him.
I feel like if somehow he was able to get him, if they would turn on him immediately, he would
Oh, probably.
he would come out and be like, shing, and just start fighting them
Yeah,
right away.
100%. 100%. Are you kidding me? 100%.
Yeah. Um, okay. So after that dungeon where he gains the necromancer powers, um, he goes to because there's 2 more dungeons
So
after
the
that, right? There's the demon tower, and then there's the red gate, right?
so the Red Gate came first. Red Gate
Okay.
first. That was what started season 2.
Okay.
And then that was the first 2 episodes of season 2, which, by the way, they did. The reason why it was 2 episodes like that is because they showed that in the movie theaters.
Ah. Okay.
That's why at the end of season 2 felt so like distinct, like that was the end point of that,
Hmm.
because that was what was, those first 2 episodes were shown back to back as a movie in movie theaters.
Okay. I'm on that topic of like doing like a couple episode feature and putting it in the movies. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. Ever since Dragon Ball Super,
I'm o- I'm okay with it.
like,
I'm okay with it if it feels. See, I think here's the thing: solo leveling, it depends upon what it is. Solo leveling, it's very where they ended it, it felt succinctly like an end point.
Mm.
Dragon Ball, that stuff goes on and on and on and on and on and on. I don't ever feel like there's necessarily like an end per se when it comes to that. We just kind of either subdued or finished off whatever threat we currently had at that moment.
Mm.
So, I'm okay with it. I mean, I didn't. Did I go out and see it? No, because I'm like, why would I want to go out and see it if I could just wait until it releases? If I was, I was tempted. Don't get me wrong. I was tempted to be like, oh, I just got to go see it kind of situation. But I was like, I can wait.
Yes. So that's basically my like my question. It's like, how do you do that to where it's like where I will go to the theater to see it, and I think it just has to be something different. It just has to be like a special thing, like a special story
Mm,
that doesn't get repeated in the series. I don't know a way to pull it off to where you kind of go over the same thing twice. Because Dragon Ball Super, they did 2 or 3 movies that were like the first 9 episodes of the season, and it
mm,
was just the same thing. Maybe they plugged in a couple of scenes here and there, and to me, if I would have saw all 3 movies and then started the series, I feel like those first 9 episodes would have been a waste of my time.
mm.
Um, and then,
I would say this: as long as you know that they are the episodes themselves, I think that's fine. Don't give us a quote unquote movie and then just have it be the first couple episodes and then go, oh, by the way, here's the series. Because then, yes, you go into it thinking, oh, I get even more. And you're like, no, this is the same thing I've already seen. Because if I know that it's the episodes from the get go, I can, one, make that decision on whether or not I want to watch it in a movie theater or not. And two, if I do watch it in a movie theater, then when the series comes out, I can wait and not have to just immediately go to watch it and be like, well, I've already seen the episodes, at least for now. I don't need to worry about it until, this date. So it's just basically extending the release for me.
yes, yeah, I would
But
say
those, I think the thing is originally the Dragon Ball movies did not specifically, to my knowledge, say that they were going to be from the episodes of the series, at least
yeah,
not from the beginning.
yeah, they were like,
That's the problem I have.
I don't know if they were like non-canon or adjacently canon, but
Mm,
they were like legends,
yeah,
like Bardock, like Goku's dad. It's like he
yeah,
is not involved in any of the series, but this story is related, but not really. It's
mm,
canon, but it's not directly related to the series. Those types of things work the best. So I would say you can't blend it. I haven't figured out a way where you can blend it. But I would say it's either has to be a adjacently canon thing or say it's exactly the first 2 episodes. And if you want to watch them early, here you go. And then you can wait, or you can wait. I would say
yeah.
that's the best
Or
way
if
to do it.
not, then you can wait.
Yeah.
Hundred
Okay.
percent,
Cool. Cool. Cool.
100%.
Um, yes. So after the red dungeon, he goes into the the demon tower again. Um,
Mm-hmm. So this time, because here's the thing, and when he first went into the demon tower in the beginning, he even mentions he was only like a level 20 or something like that,
mm-hmm,
somewhere around there.
mm-hmm.
And he didn't even get into the actual castle, the
Yeah.
tower.
Yeah.
He only was at the door, and Cerberus stopped him at the door. Here's the thing too, it's an S rank dungeon, but that doesn't mean that all the enemies in there are S rank, but it does mean that they're higher rank than it would normally be.
mm-hmm.
So he probably faced Cerberus, who at that point was probably like an A rank monster
Mm-hmm.
when he was still like C rank,
Yeah.
which is why he had such a hard time with it.
Yes.
Going into it when he did after that, he was at least a high A, so
Mm-hmm.
he was probably closer to where he needed to be in order to actually clear it. But the fact that he has his shadows on top of that, that's the reason why it was almost a yawn fest for him going through.
Yeah.
Because the bosses on those levels are probably closer to S rank,
Hmm.
But the other enemies probably range to like low to high A rank. So he
Hmm.
was right on par with what he needed to, and the shadows just put him over.
Yes. Um, that big boss with the club.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, how does a big guy be so nimble? I'm like, yeah, really? He's just like, I'm like, that's the fastest boss that I've ever seen. Um,
100%.
yeah. Um, it was. It's this show is like just pushing dungeons like just beyond what they've ever been.
And
It's
they're all interesting. They're all interesting.
yeah,
Every time he enters one, I'm like, what are we gonna do next? What's gonna be the thing here? What's the new thing that's going to happen here?
yeah. So um, yeah. So um, after that dungeon, he's
He
out.
gets himself reassessed.
Yes, he gets himself reassessed, and then he turns down all of the job offers, and then he's
Mm-hmm.
he's going for. Is he going for money or also to be sneaky? I can't.
So here's the thing. He realizes after he went through all 75 floors, at least up to the 7 where he's at, 75 in the demon dungeon, that in order for him to easily go all the way to 100, he needs to have better gear.
Yes, and more food.
His idea is like I'm not power wise myself I'm okay, but in order to make sure that I'm not going to struggle for the rest of this and able to clear it the next time I go in, I need to make sure I am fully prepared. So he went looking online for any equipment that he can use because here's the thing, he has that sphere, but it doesn't work for him.
Hmm.
So it's not equipment per se that he can use. He can give it to his mages, but his mages aren't going to be out all the time. So it's not a case of like it could work, but it's not necessarily the best for him. So he's thinking, what's going to work for me? So his idea is like I can sell the sphere to get money in order to get the equipment that would work better for me. But if I just go ahead and sell the sphere, considering everything I'm seeing online is only giving a 20 to 30% buff increase to any of people's like stats or anything, and mine doubles your magic. If I just all of a sudden sell this without ever having officially been in an A rank dungeon, someone's gonna get suspicious on how I got this.
Yeah.
So he's like, let me figure out a way. Because here's the thing, he could wait until he's officially been deemed an S rank, and then he could just go into these dungeons anyways.
Hmm.
But he wants to cure his mom as soon as possible. He
Yes.
doesn't want to wait.
Yes.
He's not a man who's just going to sit around and not do something. He's going to act as much as he possibly can, especially when it comes to his family.
Yes.
So he's like, what's the best way I can do this? And then what lo and behold happens is he sees a notice for a job offer to be a miner for A rank dungeons. And he was like, ah, I could do that. At least that way, if I go in there and as I am right now as a quote unquote E rank, at least that way when I come out, I could just be like, well, I was in an A rank dungeon. I just happened to come across this.
Yes. Okay.
So less chance for him to get seen or questioned in that regards. And then of course he gets the idea is he once he feels the power coming from inside the dungeon from the boss, he's like, I kind of want to know what's going on. I want to see it for myself. I'm like, he's like, I haven't faced anyone that powerful. He's like,
It's like
or at least I think he faced someone who was that powerful when he faced the ice elf.
yes.
But since he's leveled up since then, he hasn't faced anybody again like that. So now
Yes.
he's like, well, now I'm even stronger. Do I even need Egress and the other ones,
Yeah.
or can I handle this by myself?
Yeah. And he's like, and since I'm here and it is lunch break.
Yeah, they wouldn't mind if I just poked my head in just to see, would they?
Yeah. And then right where I ended, she's like, 100's like, hey, what are you doing over here?
Oh, that hunter, yeah.
And I'm like,
She is going to be she is going to be interesting.
yeah.
I will say this: they've shown her a couple times, and I don't know if they're kind of explain it at least in the next episode a little bit. But to get the idea, I've seen some other people reacting to it. They don't understand quite the way her nose works and the reason why she's always covering her nose.
Mhm.
When she awakened, the thing is when she awakened and others around her are awakened, apparently though you become awakened when you have like the magicools inside of you
Mhm.
because they that's what they use to see how powerful you are is how much magicools you have inside you. For her, the magicools themselves have a smell, and it smells bad. So
Mm.
other hunters besides herself have a smell to them, and she has a hard time being around other hunters because of that.
Okay, so that's kind of why she could sense him more than everybody else could.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's the reason why,
Okay.
but I will say that at least because you've seen her in the first series or in the first season, um, when she was in the helicopter going to Jeju Island with all the other hunters, she was covering her nose. It's because she's in a helicopter surrounded by other hunters,
Mm-hmm.
so it has a smell to her, so she's having to cover her nose. Same reason why when she was in the dungeon with all the other ones and she was just kind of on standby, she still had her nose covered the entire time. You saw that before he went into the dungeon as a miner, that
Mm-hmm.
she was covering those too. She just hunters and the magic around them just have a smell to her that smells bad.
Interesting. Hmm. Okay.
They
It's like
kind
I.
of explain, like I
It's,
said, in the next episode you're gonna watch. They kind of explain that, but I don't think they do because those explaining it aren't people who necessarily know her. They just kind of see her, so they kind of make a mention of that, but it's kind of left a little bit ambiguous. But that's what I gather from it.
okay. Because it's like this whole time I didn't notice her covering her nose, and now I'm gonna see it all the time now. Um,
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll see it in the very beginning of the episode when you watch the next one. Because when
yeah.
that's when the ending of the episode, she when before he turns around, she was covering her nose like this
Okay.
with the cloth that she always carries around with her.
Which is interesting because it's like the miners that get applied to that type of job. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
would they? I guess be high enough to be on her radar? I'm like, can civilians go into those dungeons and mine, or do you have to be a hunter?
I think. Well, I don't think you have to be a hunter. I think they think of you a little bit better if you are a hunter,
Mm-hmm.
only because they know you can handle yourself and that you have the physicality to be able to do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the reason why they were okay with him just being an E rank, why they were, I guess, more at least accepting of the fact that he was an E rank because he's like, oh, you're at least a hunter. You're at least a hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and at least you have the physicality to do the work that we require you to do.
Okay.
So
And then he's in there just like goosh, 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 and they're like, "Is he really eating?"
best goddamn miner they've ever had.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So now let's go into characters because there's some interesting there's some very interesting characters in this show. Um,
Here's the thing, though. There are some very interesting characters, but I don't feel. I think we focus, and we focus a lot on Sung Jin Woo.
hmm,
There have been a lot of characters, but we don't really give them a lot of airtime.
hmm,
I mean, Chohi, the Hunters Guild main guy, the uh, Gon or the chairman of the Hunters Association. Like we've seen all these characters, but they've all been like little snippets, little snippet, little snippet, little
yes.
snippet, little snippet. So I mean, I feel like in this season, Shohei is going to have more of a role, but that's only because she's going to be more next to Sung Jin Woo that we're going to be following along anyways.
Hmm.
I mean, even Sung Jin Woo's sister, yeah, she's been in a few things and you've seen her a couple times, but she really hasn't done a lot.
Hmm.
I mean, even the friend of Sung Jin Woo's sister that came along with him to the Red Dungeon, like she was there, but like she kind of was in the background. I think he kind of just oh, I'll protect you, and then after that, we really don't see her all that much.
Okay.
So I
So
mean, I don't know.
so it seems like the show is set up in the sense of like I guess older anime where there was a main character and then everybody else was a side character instead
Yeah,
of having like a group of main characters. Okay.
I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think I would consider any of them else main characters. I think going forward, we'll see more of some of them, which is why they were introduced so early on,
Hmm.
is because they're going to be becoming key members going forward, but it's not like they were integral from the beginning. Like most of the parts that happened from the beginning, we could have skipped out on most of them and only really interacted with them when Sung Jin Woo interacted with them. But we got a little snippet every now and then with those, and it wasn't. I mean, it was nice, but it wasn't necessarily necessary. I feel like.
Okay. That's interesting. Um, but yeah, that's a um, out of the side characters, who do you think is like the most interesting? I have two off the top of my head, um, and that's his sister's friend or sister's classmate, and then the older guy.
I don't necessarily know if I would consider her the sister's friend to be interesting. I mean, I guess I could see that, but I think honestly, to me, the more interesting ones out of them, um, I mean, I'd probably say Igris.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, his fight was so iconic, and he's just such a presence whenever he's on the field.
yeah, and
I
even in
think
the ice,
that's one of the biggest things I think.
yeah, even in the ice dungeon when basically in the ice dungeon he had his sword the whole time, and and
Yeah,
Jingu was like, oh, if he didn't put down his sword, I wouldn't have made
yeah,
it out of that
I would
dungeon.
be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be dead. Um, so Igris, I think, would be biggest for me. If we're just talking about side characters, and any other one, yeah, maybe the chairman.
Okay. Oh yeah.
But see, at the same time, I think those are the ones we've had the most interactions with.
Hmm.
So I think it's almost unfair to say that those are the most interesting, only because we've just had more interaction with them.
Yeah. Um.
So of course they're going to be more interesting. We know more about them. We've seen more about them.
Okay.
The fact that Sung Jin Woo has as much respect for the chairman as he does. Granted, the only other one, if I had to pick three characters, side characters, the only other one that I would say would be interesting would be Jinho.
Oh, the one who's trying to take over the guild.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He'd be the only other one. I root for him. I mean, I feel bad for him with his family situation. His
Yeah.
brother being an absolute trash to him. His dad kind of only sort of caring about him, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So really, Jin Woo is like the only one who actually seems like he actually gives a crap about him.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I were to pick a third. Hmm. The dude that's hanging out with the chairman.
Oh, him? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll
Yeah,
say
we've seen him a decent amount.
yeah. So I'll say let's go through them pretty quickly. Good, and then yeah, we can call this show
Sure.
excellent. Everybody should watch this. If
100%.
it's a little violent.
Oh, yeah. The moral ambiguity in this show is it comes into question a lot.
Yes. Okay. So I pick the sister's classmate because I knew she was eventually going to get into a dungeon like 100% because of the way that they were showing her. Like she's asking
Mhm.
questions about the dungeon. She's asking her classmate about her brother being in a dungeon, and then like half a series later, she's in a dungeon. So I'm like, I knew that from the get go, but because of the relationship that she has with the two characters, I feel like something might happen to her, so I'm worried for her.
Here's the thing. Her character, and the only reason why I didn't put her up there is I feel like she's only there as a placeholder for the audience. Like she does ask the
Interesting.
questions, but she asks the questions that we as the audience would have asked or wanted to know.
Okay.
Like she went into the dungeon. Like we know Sung Jin Woo has experience. He has the knowledge because he's done this. He's done this for so long as he has. And when they went into the red dungeon, her immediate question was, "What's going on? What's happening?" He knew, but she had to be there to ask the questions to make it feel natural
Hmm.
because she didn't know because she's so new. So basically, she was a stand-in for us.
Yeah, she's the audience avatar. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Because it does make sense because for her, like her only experience is like just standing outside of dungeons.
Yeah.
And then the first time she actually goes in, everything's going haywire. And she's like, "Is this
Mm-hmm.
normal?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Is this normal?" That is no. And he's like, "Y'all stay over here. I'll be back." And she's like, "Ah." Yeah. So that
Yeah.
makes perfect
Basically.
sense. And then even other hunters are like, "I've never seen this before." So,
Oh yeah, because again, she asked the question to the other hunter, "Is
yeah.
this normal?" And she's like, "Are you kidding me? I wouldn't be a hunter if this was normal."
Yeah. Um, okay, that makes sense. Um, I would say the older hunter that basically felt really bad for abandoning or I guess
Oh yeah,
leaving
yeah, yeah,
behind the main character because
yeah.
he's like I wanted to stay I wanted to stay behind
He did.
and he's like I couldn't because I you weren't able to help the girl out and the only way for her to get out is for me to take her. So for him to like also like bring that up when they meet again, it's it's really cool.
Well, it showed he was very honorable and very he kind of felt like more of like a grandfather figure.
Yeah, and then even like
So I can see that.
I was like even the interactions that he had with his with the people at his dojo, like
Mm-hmm.
it's just I don't know. It's like
It showed what type of character he had.
yes,
100%.
yeah, and I was like oh god, this guy's really cool. I think he's gonna die soon. And then in the very next dungeon, more trouble, and I'm
I
like
mean, in this
no.
series, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? The thing I probably liked most about this series is that you don't know. The
Yeah,
way they set up the very first episode, anyone can die.
yeah.
You don't know. So it makes the stakes that much higher.
Yeah. Oh, and then even after the dungeon, even though they made it out, and the guy started questioning, he's like, "Who defeated the thing?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did. I'm a swordsman."
Hmm.
Just covering for him. Even I was like, "God, this dude's so cool." So,
A lot of people do that though, if you really think about it. A lot of people will cover for Sung Jin Woo because they see him do these things. They don't fully understand, but they know since he's not the one to accept the credit for it because that's not why he's doing this.
yes,
So because that's not why he's doing this, he no one wants to push it on him.
hmm
They just go, "Okay, we'll just move past it."
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like I wouldn't say notorious, but he's known for being that like that rookie level E guy that's trying his hardest, and I'm curious, like,
Mm.
how many people, like, how many hunters actually know of him, and then to see him in his current state, and they're like, huh. So,
Most
yeah,
people don't recognize him in his current state.
yeah. So,
Even the chairman, when he was looking at his and through his records, saw the picture of him and basically said he looks like a completely different person, and he does.
yes. So, um, it's also interesting whenever like people push him for answers, and he like turns around and gives them that back off look,
Hmm.
and I'm like, okay.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, and then my third character is the guy that's hanging out with the chairman. Was
Hmm.
he partnered with that serial killer hunter dude?
No,
Okay.
they I think they work together, and in the capacity that even the chairman of that company worked together with him. They
Okay.
all were in part of the same organization, and
Hmm.
he knew of him. He just didn't know to what extent that dude was demented.
Okay. Because I'm like that dude, the serial killer dude, was with another hunter, and they were like going to places together. That wasn't the dude that was with the chairman.
I don't think so. Because I think the dude that was with the chairman came in after the fact to go to. Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily with him at that time.
Okay, so where did that guy go?
The dude that was with the serial killer?
Yeah,
I don't remember a dude with a serial killer.
I feel like I feel like they were partnered up, or maybe they just had a like they spoke to each other.
Oh, no, you know what? You know what? They were because during his first reassessment back
Yes,
when an episode 2 or 3, he was in the hospital room with him.
yes. Okay, okay. So yeah, yeah. Once that guy was gone, now he's just hanging out with the. I keep
I mean,
wanting to say emperor.
he was already hanging out with the chairman before that because
Yeah,
him and the chairman had a sparring match in like
and the chairman kind of like destroyed half the dojo. And the show's like all sly, trying to be like, look at how strong he is. Let me pan over real quick.
yeah, yeah. Again, even you got to remember when Sung Jin Woo looked at him, he said that the chairman, even though he was retired and over 80 years old, he still held as much power as Sung Jin Woo was at that time.
Yeah.
And the chairman even said if the healers could actually make it to where he would be able to move the way he wanted to, he would still be out there fighting.
Yeah.
He said if he was just 10 years younger, so he's saying if he was only in his 70s, he could still be out there fighting.
Man.
Chairman's impressive. Chairman's an
That's
impressive motherfucker. That's why I
man.
said he was one of mine. He's an
Yeah.
impressive motherfucker.
Okay. Good. 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 Well, that's a good segue. So let's go into the chairman.
I I mean, he is what can I say about him, man? He is wise, he's compassionate. I mean, he looks at the association as a preventative measure to keep the other guilds in line. And he was the first S rank hunter in that nation.
Okay. Makes sense for the age.
He
Um.
was the first. So I mean, if his body was still able to let him, like I said, he'd be out there fighting along with everyone else.
Yeah. I
And
vote. I vote a chairman movie.
I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it, honestly. See him back in his prime.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do a flashback or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. Um. Yeah, it's the chairman's pretty cool. What was one of the other ones?
Junhee,
Yes.
the little the his as most people have called him, the little golden retriever of a guy.
And every time you see him, he has some new suit of armor.
Yeah, new piece, new suit, something like that. He's just as many people have said. He's such a good boy. He's just such a good boy. You feel for him. He's. I know Sung Jin Woo agreed to it, but he really is the younger brother to Sung Jin Woo.
Yeah.
He really is like his little brother, and you see that relationship between the two of them. Like even when they were grinding out in those dungeons, he would he would be mining away while Sung Jin Woo was killing all the other bad guys, and he's just like, all right, cool. And he would run away from a monster. Sung Jin Woo would come in, clobber the monster. He was looking out for him. He's trying to help him. He's trying to protect him. I mean, yeah, it works out in his favor, but at the same time, it's endearing to see the two of them. And it really, I think, his presence is something that kind of grounds Sung Jin Woo and keeps him from going too far, maybe, with his power.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sung Jin Woo has such a potential to go so far with his abilities and power to, for lack of a better term, the dark side.
I see that. Um, and even in like the whole part where they were grinding and everything, once he got his um, necromancer army, like then they just started doing the mining, and Sunju was like, "Can I mine some too?" Um, and
Can I just pick up Essence Stone? And then the shadow comes over and goes, here you go. You want the Essence Stones? I'll give them to you.
um, so I'm wondering if that's like the beginning of like his kind of turn, because it's like,
I don't know. I think the people around him are going to, like I said, I think he needs them even though he doesn't need them to fight. I think he needs them to keep him grounded.
mm,
So, we'll see.
okay, and then who is the last person?
Oh, Igris.
Oh yes,
I mean, I think we've already discussed Igris in length at this point. He's just such a cool character.
yeah,
The way he carries himself, his knightly aura and responsibility. I mean, he oozes like chivalry and like just a knight demeanor kind of situation.
yeah,
He doesn't even have to say anything, and you just know what he's thinking or what he's doing.
yeah,
And the loyalty that he has portrayed to Sun Jin-woo is just outstanding.
yeah. I'm just imagining the stuff that he's been doing. I was like, God,
Oh yeah.
Idris is so cool.
Oh yeah. He's fucking awesome. I love Igris.
Oh, let's flip to a useful but like kind of broken member of his shadow army team. So in the red dungeon, he actually revived a human.
Kim.
Hmm?
The human's name was Kim.
Oh, okay, yes. And it's weird because that guy showed a dark side like immediately.
Here again, you got to think about it. It's the personality. It's human nature, right?
Hmm.
He split the teams personally, and what did he do? He kept all the high level people with him, and kept all the low level people by themselves because
Yes.
he considered them dead weight and he considered them useless. Then what ended up happening? His team dies, except for him, and all the low level people that he thought would have died didn't. So basically, feeling like he failed his team, he tried to shift blame to make himself feel better, thinking that it wasn't his fault that his team died, but it was Sung Jin Woo's fault for not providing, even though he's the one who made that decision. He just kind of glossed over that fact.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that, though, is if you notice during the fight, when he's charging the other that were at that camp, Sung Jin Woo kicks him and pushes him aside, and his sword that he had been carrying at that time falls near Sung Jin Woo while Kim goes flying off in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when the fight's happening, where's that sword? Right next to Kim.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Sung Jin Woo kicked it over to him because he knew when he woke up he was going to want to charge him. And at that point, Sung Jin Woo had already made the mental decision saying, if in my current power, even with Egress, this was going to be a highly difficult battle that he wasn't sure he was going to win. And
Mm-hmm.
he said he needed reinforcements. And then when he killed Kim, or actually Egress killed Kim, what did Kim say? You knew this was going to happen, didn't you? And Sung Jin Woo didn't say anything. Because he did. I mean, it was Kim's decision to do that, but he kind of laid the groundwork to go, here you go for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting moral quandary when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's even why, after the fact, he had to reflect while he was washing himself in the bathroom before he went to eat with his sister. He was reflecting, going, I've killed three. This is the third time now. And that's because, I mean, yeah, he killed more than three people, but this is the third time that he actually made that decision
Mm-hmm.
of, I'm going to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. It's. I'd say the initial kill was kind of led on by the system because it was like, here's a quest you can't deny because I need you for some reason.
yeah. But it's still something he had to come to terms with because he had to kill them.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. So once he's killed Kim, he brings him back as Iron,
Iron, yeah.
and
And I love him so much more as Iron than
yeah.
anything else.
When he used the big hammer, it was like gadoosh to the elf, and he's like, "Okay, cool, we're done." And he's like, "Gadoosh, gadoosh, gadoosh, gadoosh," gadoosh. And I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute, Iron, are you okay?" And he's like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Even better was this when after that happened and Jinwoo scolded him, he uh he turned over to Egress like he was like, "Hey, you tell him I was justified doing that." And Egress just turned around like, "I ain't talking to you."
Don't pull
She's
me
like,
into
"You're
this.
dumb. I ain't talking to you. Don't pull me into this."
This is all you.
So, so then Iron had to go look to the mages and go, "Yeah," and the mages like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we did it! Woo!"
It's yeah, the show is very very good.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. It's like
Oh, you gonna like this next one?
it's it's one of those things where it's like there's the island still, and like they did another scout to the island, and they're like ants can fly now, and they're like drop it in the ocean, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about the. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, are the monsters on the island evolving because they're outside of the dungeon, or do they evolve in the dungeon and you just catch them at their current level?
Don't know.
So yeah, that's it's interesting. So yeah, Ah, right. The next show and the last show we'll be talking about today is Shangri-La Frontier Season 2. Ah, this show's fun.
I go from loving this show to I go from loving this show to getting annoyed by the main character sometimes. His
Yeah.
personality sometimes I'm just like, "Oh my god, you just could you stop? Could you just stop?" But I mean, I get it. They stay true to the whole gamer aspect of it. He's a true gamer. So of course he's going to be toxic from time to time, and of course he's going to make snide little remarks to some people or even to NPCs or something like that, and
Yeah.
the things he does with his buddies and everything, just poking fun at each other. I get it, but same time, I'm just like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. And I love the whole thing that he's a variety gamer. So like
Mm.
it's weird for him to have a main game for a long period of time. Um and like he'll just pop into another game and like like, hey, he's back, and he's like, nah, I'm just here for a couple matches. I just needed a break.
Yeah, this isn't my current game I'm playing, but
Yeah,
I kind of felt like I needed a break from it for a little while.
yeah. So, um, yeah, it's like, where do we even start with this one? There's so much going on with it. Um,
See, here's the problem. I don't. I watched it back when the first season came out, but I stopped watching it, and then only recently, in the last like 2 weeks, did I pick it back up and go all the way through to where it currently is now.
yes,
So I don't really know where season one and season two really end. To me, it's all just one big thing going through.
yeah. So I think I just watched everything in the last week, so my brain's just stuffed. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I gotta sift through all this information. Um,
But the problem is I think okay, so this is a really solid series.
yes,
Um, I will say because the gripes that I had from previous ones I don't have for this one. I think this one excels at where the other ones had, you know, so the pacing is great.
yes,
The pacing is solid, it's smooth, it's great. I feel like it takes its time where it needs to and everything. Occasionally I think it bogs down a little bit. I think when he was facing those crystal scorpions or whatever, I
yeah,
was like, we're really spending an entire episode just facing crystal scorpions? What the hell?
yeah.
I could have done without that. But for the most part, I say everything else is pretty solid as far as that goes. Um,
It's one of those things where it's like, if I don't see a reason why a show kind of harps on a certain moment, um, it it detracts from it. But
mhm.
because it's like a gamer thing, and it's like he's stuck on this one, like he wants to get this one thing, and depending on how stubborn of a gamer he is, the next week might be just dedicated to this, and it's like, oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I can't beat Mario
I mean,
level 8, and we've spent like a whole weekend on it.
yeah. I get it. That's what I say. I get his personality too. I just
Yes.
sometimes, as far as his show goes, I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh, come on. I want to get to the next part. Why are we still stuck on doing this right now? It's so
Hmm.
ridiculous. Um, but I feel like the progression is solid. I feel
Hmm.
like it moves in the way that it should, and I really like the lore and the story behind the scenes.
Hmm.
I like that we're trying to explore and figure out everything that's going on. I even like the little tidbits where we go to the actual makers of the game and see them arguing over like, why did you buff this boss up, or why are they defeating this boss when they should have defeated this boss first, kind of situation.
Yes.
Um, so that just is always fun and intrigues me.
Hmm.
And I like the fact that, like you said before, he goes to different games, but I like the fact that the characters in one game he can meet in Shangri-La Frontier.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we have a nice crossover, and it doesn't feel like the secondary games that he plays are detracting. It feels like they're just adding to it because he either figures something out or someone from that game he meets up with later on.
Yes. I would say the and it's more real to life. Like I would say
Mm-hmm.
the like the situation that played out the best in is the robot fighting game. Like
Mm-hmm.
for the current situation that's happening right now, it's like he was stuck. He kind of just finished the battle. He needed a break. He gets out of the game, goes battles with one of his rivals from like a couple months ago or something like that. And basically, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're playing the game too, and we found this secret thing that like they're not telling anybody because they're kind of isolated in their own little world where they're like, oh, we just played this game, we found out something interesting, and then we went back to our other main game. So it's not like everybody who plays that game is also deep into the community and it shares all the information. It's like there's probably some people who have like entered the game, found some secret thing that nobody's ever found before, and then just left the game and never told anybody. So it was kind of interesting seeing that there's this
Yeah.
piece of information that the main character could really use, and he would have never found, well, he wouldn't have found it out then unless he went to play this other game with other people that he used to
Mm-hmm.
play with. So
Oh, for sure.
it's very very interesting how it like mimics real life.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
And
Um.
the characters themselves, I enjoy each of the characters.
Yes.
They
Uh.
all have their nice, distinct personalities. They, like you said before, they mirror real life very well when it comes to gamers and their personalities. So
Yeah.
NPCs are very distinct, even though we keep finding multiple different bunnies from them. Each of the bunnies has their own personality and their own distinct whatever it is that they do, kind of thing.
It's like almost each bunny has their own world developed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just
It's
pluck them out of their world and just throw them into this one.
yeah. It's very interesting. Um.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for this show, do you have a favorite character?
I would probably say the white bunny.
Okay.
I can't remember her name, but the white bunny. The
Something.
antics that they get into,
Yes.
and just her personality and in general. Um, and she's so simple minded, but it's just so endearing and so funny.
Oh yeah.
Um, she'll get mad at Sunraku for doing this, that, or the other thing, and then he'll just be like, "You want a carrot? Carrot? Yeah, 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 that's fine. What were we talking about? I don't know. Give me a carrot." I'm like, "Oh my god."
um, for me, it's like I want to say the blacksmith rabbit.
Oh, she's
Uh,
good too.
yeah. Um, but then I'm also pencil gun is kind of funny because so it's like right now I'm gonna say the blacksmith rabbit, but then recently Pentagon is I'm like being
Hmm.
interesting, and I'm like So, um, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about her honestly, but
I
she
would say
goes up and she goes down on my list quite a bit.
yeah, yeah. She always up to some antics. Um, so I would say what is the coolest moment that you or coolest moments that you like from the show?
I mean, you go first. I'll still think about mine.
Okay. I was let's see. As far as battles go, um, it's like this show doesn't have the crazy intense battles that solo leveling does. But
Oh,
when they
the
when
battle with the lycanthropy, the battle
the
with the wolf, the shadow wolf,
the first one or the second one?
the second one, when it
Okay.
was when the knight came with him and everything and all that other stuff happened.
Okay.
Because seeing her use her ability, the
Yeah.
apocalypse or whatever it was, I was
Yes.
like, oh, holy crap!
Don't look directly at it; you'll go blind.
Yeah, no kidding. That thing was intense.
Yeah, and like she
And
said,
just the fact that it was so brutal, but it had such a build up to get to it.
yeah, like
But
she
it
said,
had a build up and it had a payoff.
yes. Like she, like at one point she's like, it's a pain in the ass to use, but it'll be really good.
Yeah. And he
um,
was like, "You're not wrong. It was good."
um, yeah, I would say that, yeah, and it's one of those. Actually, it's like as far as the story goes, I like the fact that they almost didn't make it.
Hmm.
Like so far, they've been able to pull out all the stops with the current members and never needed reinforcements. Um, like with they would go in with a party of 3 or 2 or whatever, and they would always make it through. This is the first time where like in the middle of the battle they needed assistance, and then they added to their party, and then they were able to make it through. So I like
Yeah.
the fact that he's not invincible like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's also funny that the like a god is like, oh, you thought you really beat me? No, even it's like stronger curse and see you later.
Yeah. That was just my shadow. What are you talking about?
um, then oh yeah, and like as a beast, like where the beast would pause
Hmm.
and then do something. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you up to? It's like I caught on to it
Hmm.
before Sanraku caught on to it, and then he like kind of revealed what it was doing, and I'm like, oh, that's what that was. It's yeah, it's like that was a really cool battle.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. And then the fact that afterwards they show the company that works for it and her going, "Why did you make it so difficult? Why did you increase its AI? That's not no." It's like, "Oh, it wasn't supposed to be that in the beginning, but someone
yes,
decided to go and change that, huh?"
yes. He's like, my vision. You're messing up my vision. And she's like, nobody will want to play your vision. And they just start
Yeah.
throwing fists at each other. And the dude's like,
Hmm.
calm down. Gets kicked in the stomach, falls on the ground, and it's all right. Next scene.
That poor guy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I would say mine is the robot samurai. Uh,
Oh, yeah, that was good too.
yes. So just like with Zenshu, there was a moment where I feel like they could have done it differently. Um, is and I want to get this out of the way first. Like right when he activated the right when he was about to activate the counter. What is that called? It's called something like the counter to his strike. Um, he didn't have all the requirements first, and he's like, I can't activate it, and then like some silliness ensued, and she threw the thing and all that kind of stuff. Then he like got him, and then he was able to use it. I feel like that interrupted the flow of the climax of the fight. Yes,
Hmm.
it was silly. Yes, it was funny, but I'm like, this again. like how you said, sometimes he's like cool, and sometimes he kind of gets silly, and I'm like, I
Hmm.
I don't I don't know how to execute that better, which is where I'm stuck. So I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, it
No,
was
I
silly.
agree.
Yes, it's true to his character. I kind of wish it was different, but it was kind of like saying I kind of want a different main character, and it's like I don't though. I'm like, so
Yeah.
so but yeah, um, yeah, it's old peg leg robot samurai was really cool. Um, it's
Oh, I love that one too, by all means.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm like, it took all three of them. It used up all their resources, um, and then they finally were able to pull through. So that was a really really cool fight. Were there any other, like, I guess, what do they call them, colossi that they have fought before?
So they've only fought two. They've only fought the samurai and they fought the wolf. Those are the only ones they fought.
Okay.
They're on their way to figure out if they can fight the giant kraken.
Yes. Um, and
But
then
that's to the extent. The one person that he's now teamed up with has fought, or at least been seen. I don't know if she like fought, but she's at least seen the dragon.
yes, she's encountered the dragon, which is where she gets that curse scar from.
Yeah.
Uh, so that basically lead, like, kind of like how you said with solo leveling, how they kind of like tease something that's coming up. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that was the tease for the dragon. So we know that if not right after the octopus, eventually we're gonna be heading to the dragon.
Probably. I
Um,
don't know if it's going to be either the dragon first or if it's going to be the main body for the wolf.
that's true. Yes. Um, then yeah. So that's as far as the colossi are concerned. Um, basically, other than that, it's basically just unique scenarios that the characters keep coming across.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's it's funny that Sunraku has racking up so many unique scenarios, and his pro gamer friend doesn't have any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
And he just loves lording that over them too. How many unique scenarios do you have? Oh, yeah.
um, and then Pentagon, she has been part of a really big uh, clan, and then kind of sold them out. Just kind of turned a leaf.
Yeah, they're a bunch of they're a bunch of PKers.
Yeah. Um, and then now she's like, I'm not a PK anymore. I'm gonna be a good person. No, and immediately
No,
steals
you're not.
weapons, or at least tricks people into buying her weapons. Um,
Mm-hmm. Sells
and
them bad information to get rid of her debt.
oh, that was so funny. Yeah, basically how they came across Lycagon the second time. It was
Mm-hmm.
like they're like, we got all of our intel, and like we know exactly where he's gonna show up because we're gonna do these things that will not affect the situation, and then be pissed off later and get beat up again.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute! I just realized they're all gonna respawn somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What?
In one of the towns, at least.
What's good? They're gonna be pissed.
Oh, they are. When they finally see it, they're gonna be extremely pissed because they're gonna feel like they've been lied to, which they have been.
Oh
So.
my god! And Sun Raku beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're making it so bad. It was already bad that they're like just drooling over. I think it's Imu. Imu is her name, the rabbit. So, um, yeah. Oh, that's gonna suck. Okay. Then as far as other unique scenarios, I don't.
Yeah. Emu, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, another guy, another character that I think is cool in the series is the dad, Emu's dad.
No, the big boss.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
yeah, he had that blacksmith song that was cool, and then he's like, "All right, I'm gonna peace out for like a season or two." And I'm like,
Yeah. You got to get the stuff for me before I can tell you what the heck's going on. And he's like, can't you just tell me what's going on? No, you gotta find the things before I can tell you what's going on.
yeah, and I'm
And he's
like,
like, God damn fetch quests.
yeah, And it's very interesting that like because he's around like the dad's there. He's around for like maybe other characters, but because we're
Mm-hmm.
following Sunraku, he's basically gone. It's it, it's
Oh no,
interesting.
I think he's even missing from other characters too, because remember her brother was looking for him and couldn't find him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's because he's in contact with Sunraku. Like, I'm curious if a character that has no affiliation with Sunraku or any of his other party members or anybody tied to them, if they will come across the dad.
Mm,
Like
I don't
maybe
know.
they're in their own kind of like linked instance kind of thing, where it's like I don't know, because like the new character that just joined the party, she came across I don't know, because then whenever she went like they couldn't find the dad either. I don't know where did he go.
Good question.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So yeah, as far as the story is going, we're basically mainly following Sunraku. A lot of the
Mm.
other characters are playing bigger parts. Um, and yeah, I'm just curious to get to the. I love the way the show is like has distinct arcs where they're like, this is discovering the world. This is the bunny saga. This is um, what is it? The robot samurai saga. This is wolf again saga. This is octopus saga. Um, they do split the battles into like 3, 4 parts, which is kind of Dragon Ball Z ish. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's still interesting because the battles are they don't come to a stalemate. Like it's the battles are always evolving. Um, they may drop in new things that we haven't seen before, but it doesn't. It's not. They're not just pulling things out of thin air. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I like the way the show's flowing. I'd say just like with the with the last show, we I guess pick a few characters to go through, and then yeah. So um, let's just go with the main character. Um, as far as him in the game world and him in the real world, um,
He's about the same. Let's be honest.
yeah.
There's really no difference. He can be a dick to people in the main world and in the real world, and he can be a dick to people in the game.
Yeah,
He's also very oblivious to everything else that's going around him that's not game related,
yeah,
because his the knight that has a love interest in him. I mean, it's obvious to everyone in the real world, and it's obvious to people in the game that something's going on, and yet he's completely oblivious.
yeah.
As far as Sunwalker goes, he's pretty much a stereotypical protagonist. I don't think, honestly, there's other than some gamer moments he has. I don't think there's really a lot that would differentiate him from anybody else.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, yeah. Um, I do. I don't know. Yeah, because like other main characters, they have a skill, and it's usually not obvious. And for Sunraku, his skill is basically like everything that he's learned in worse games. and
Well, he's able to like analyze and really break down what he sees in games. Like he was able to determine the wolf's attack pattern quite easily, whereas other people were just amazed and could never really see that.
hmm
So like he's played so much games, they really push the whole gamer aspect from him on that.
Yeah, especially like that glitch fighting game where it's
Hmm.
like, for me, I'm like, I guess I'm not. I know for sure I'm not that deep into games, but it's like compared to like other gamers. But it's like compared to the average person, I feel like I'm knowledgeable. And
Yeah.
for me to look at that one game where he's like, "Oh yeah, I have a move where my foot stays here, but I slide like 30 feet back." I was like, "What kind of?" Game? I was like, "I've never run into any kind of glitches like this." It's um, or like the slingshot punches where your arms just
Mm-hmm.
like. I'm like the weirdest glitch that I've come across in a game is like we're playing a cooking game that's just not the greatest, and then in the little world that they have, there's like a little soccer field, or there's a basketball hoop and a soccer ball, and there's also a soccer goal. And I'm like, I'm gonna play basketball with this soccer ball. So I'm over there playing around, and the other people that I'm playing with are in the kitchen messing with stuff. And then I'm satisfied with what I want to do, my little gamer moment where I'm like, I'm going to make this basket, even if it takes me 15 minutes. And then I make the basket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes! And then I run back into the kitchen, and one of the paintings on the wall is like in the middle of the kitchen, slowly sinking into the ground. And I just walk in there, I'm like, what's up with this picture? And they're like, we don't talk about the picture. And I'm just like, okay, I guess we're ignoring this floating painting. And then we just go back to the game. So it's like, those are the kinds of glitches I come across. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see like the master of glitches,
Mm-hmm.
like a group of people who are like the master of glitches and like gaining an advantage because of the weird
Oh,
stuff
for
that you
sure.
see in other games. So that's interesting. Um, for you, Emu, like other, she's like secretly strong.
I don't necessarily say her strong. I would say she just is very versatile, and she's. If I had to say anything in gaming wise, she's a good support. She's really good at supporting
Hmm.
Sunraku.
Okay.
I mean, and she's versatile in the fact that like you can teach her new spells and have her learn those. But beyond that, I mean, for me, just being her favorite character is just because she's just quirky and she's kind of the craziness to Sunraku's sometimes straight lacedness that he has every now and then, but her quirkiness is a way for Sunraku to be able to have his moments of quirkiness where it doesn't seem like it's so far fetched kind of thing.
Okay. Um, yeah, I did like the one moment where he was about to die from fall damage in that one that swamp, and she like teleported him to land on top of the frog or whatever that boss was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then like her just love of carrots is above everything else. Um, and then I don't know, it's like her attachment to Sunraku, but then her also fragileness. There's like being an NPC, it's like you got to be real
Mm-hmm.
careful. Um, I I'm worried. Because he's like getting into more and more dangerous stuff, and it's like he leaves her at home because he knows it's gonna be dangerous, and then she just shows up. Saturday up
Yeah.
here, and he's like, no. um,
Yeah, she's a way to up the stakes.
yeah. Um, so I like the blacksmith rabbit because one, she's just skillful, and that's just I don't know a cool thing to see a character
Mm-hmm.
be. Um, and she's not gullible. Like you can't just
No,
BS her.
I also like her relationship with the Kate Sith.
Oh, yeah, that dude's annoying. He's like,
But because he's as annoying as he is, and she is as straight laced as she is, it really works well off each other.
yes, it's it's one of those things where it's like he's slowly showing like his competency
Mm.
to where I'm like, I guess you could be silly without annoying me. Um, and has I don't think has yet to become very like serious.
No.
Um, so that's one thing as far as him I look forward to. Um, I wonder if we'll ever see that. Um, I worry about the situation that will call that forward, but yeah, it's yeah, he's a good. Is that foil? I guess foil to the blacksmith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I would say.
and yeah, it's like you can't pull anything over the blacksmith's eyes, but once you like give her an idea that she's actually into, it's like she's 100% on board. Um,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, and then yeah, like bringing her the golden crystal scorpion, and she just blacked out from just seeing stuff that she's like,
The shock.
yeah, like I never thought I'd ever see this in my life, and you got
Yeah.
tons of it. Yeah, um, yeah, and then it's like once she says her mind or something, it's like it's done, and he's like, I want some gauntlets made out of this stuff with the new skill you just got. She's like, all right, give me some time, and then she's like, done, and I'm like, that's really really cool. Um, for the party that Sunraku's in, Pencil Gun is interesting. It's like she started out as the villain, and she was scary, and then the game like opened up the soft side of her, and
Mm.
she kind of got like rope like she started to feel for the character in the scenario for the robot samurai, which is really cool. Um, and basically, she would destroy the world to like to make that scenario go through. Um, and now that she's turning over a new leaf, she has this huge debt, which means she's going to be just terrorizing everyone until her debt's paid. And
Mm.
then um, I'm curious if she's gonna slow down once she's like paid off her debt, and now she could just earn money like earnestly, or is she still gonna terrorize people to get the money back, get up to the amount of money that she had before? Um,
Oh, she's still gonna terrorize people, even if she didn't.
so
She's still gonna terrorize people. Just don't get me wrong.
yeah, so that's one thing as far as her arc. I'm curious about. I'm also
Mm.
curious if the trio is gonna get involved in the octopus thing, or
I don't know because they're not involved in. They weren't really involved with the wolf thing.
yeah. So I'm curious if like when are they coming back? Like, are they gonna come back for the dragon, the wolf part three? Like, and it's so
Maybe.
interesting that like monsters have like multiple parts. It's like wolf part one, wolf part two, and now we got a wolf part three, maybe four. I don't know. Um, and it's like out of the colossi, is the wolf the strongest one? Is like that? Is that why they had to face it so many times?
I don't
Um,
think so. It sounded to me like the. It sounded to me it was like mid tier, if anything.
okay. Um, so then you have the pro gamer. It's like kind of lagging behind everybody else. It does make sense they're a pro gamer, so they have other like responsibilities. I did like the fact that he's like, I can, I can, because the new game that I'm gonna be doing tournaments for has the same engine as Shangri-La Frontier. I can practice learning the engine and also have fun.
I can use that as an excuse.
So that's cool to see. Um, and then they haven't really showed like the tournaments and stuff that that character is like in or like
I doubt we're gonna see those.
yeah. So I'm curious about it.
We're following Sunraku. I mean, primarily, we're gonna see what he does.
Okay. Um, and then yeah. So other than that trio and the the party members that the characters have run across, um, everybody else is kind of like either an obstacle or um, a piece of information.
It
um,
just pushes it just pushes the story along.
yeah. So, oh, the librarian dude. I
Oh God, do we have to go into the librarian dude?
I can't stand the voice of that character. Like,
I know I've heard that voice of that character from other things. It's
yes.
just so bad seeing it out of a little girl.
And not only like is it this little magical girl, it's all cutesy and dressed up. It's like, does she blink? Like, she's so stiff and robotic that it's just
No,
unsettling to to look at, while also hearing that voice. And I'm just like, I can't. I'm like, please stop talking. And even when she was excited, she's like, "Oh, the book, give me the book." And I'm like, "Give him the face, shut up, please." uh, um,
it's a little weird. It's a little strange.
um, but yeah, it's this is a very entertaining show. Like I'm loving watching this. Um, yeah, and I'm curious for the next saga. Like they just finished up with the Wolf Part 2, and they're heading over to the Octopus. We got us a couple new characters that we're gonna get to know on the way, and then we're gonna meet two other characters that we just met like right before these other two characters got introduced. So, um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like it's fun. It's like let's,
Oh
let's
yeah, it's an adventure. It's what
yeah,
adventuring should be.
yes, yes. Um, but yeah, that's all I have for Shangri-La Frontier Season 2. Um, so I kind of wanted to like skim this current season to see like what things we didn't uh, mention, because there's one show that we've talked about several times and there's a new iteration here. Um,
We can do
so
it real quick.
yes, so uh, Grisaya is back.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I'm iffy on whether or not I wanted to watch it, honestly,
Yeah, if I
because I
had
see that it's a side thing that's not even related to the main thing, and
okay. Um, okay, cool. It's just,
several years after the Fruit of Grisaya. So yeah,
okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's like as soon as
it's now a trained school dedicated to fostering talent for national. Yeah,
okay, I'm curious if, because it's kind of like the next generation. I'm assuming. I'm curious if it'll be as dark and as like emotionally involved as the first one was. Um, but yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, Grisai is back. Um, Blue Exorcist is back again, which was interesting. I'm like, I need to get caught back up on that. Um,
same.
and I think those were the two main ones that we had talked about before, but we haven't caught up on them. Um, but yeah, um, we will be back
Yeah,
next, or I guess the end of this month for some trailers for the spring season. So um, yeah,
sure.
as always,
Sounds good.
yep. As always, this is DK and Shade from TacoYaki Anime, and we will see y'all next time.